Chapter 1607. On the other side, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult had a hideous expression on their faces. Even Elder Zhang's expression was as heavy as water. Boom, 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 boom. Another earth-shattering explosion rang out as the stage exploded with resplendent light. Then, the azure dragon sword shadow directly shattered the blood-colored moon. What? Just broken. How is this possible? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They realized that Niulang's king's domain had been shattered. It was simply unbelievable. No. Damn it. I don't believe it. Niulang roared madly. At the same time he spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapsing. The shattering of his king's domain had caused him severe injuries. He was afraid that he would soon become a cripple. He couldn't accept it. On the other hand, Lin Xian snorted coldly and waved his arm. A dazzling sword light shot forward once again. What? He wants to continue? At the sight of this scene, the scalps of the crowd went numb. It seemed like Lin Xian really wanted to kill Niulang. Stop. Suddenly a cold voice rang out. It turned out that it was the elder of the moon-worshipping cult. It was the Reverence Moon Elder. His face was gloomy. His gaze was like lightning. It was unusually cold. Stop. On the stage, Lin Xian sneered, "This is a battle of life and death. It will only end when one side dies. You actually want me to stop? What a joke." However, the Reverence Moon Elder snorted coldly. His eyes were like two sharp blades that shook the void. Niulang is my moon-worshipping cult's holy prince candidate. His status is incomparably noble. Are you sure you want to kill him? Young man, even if you have some strength, don't be too arrogant. The moon-worshipping cult isn't something you can provoke. I advise you to obediently let Niulang go. Otherwise you will be killed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. It seemed like the Reverence Moon Elder was really angry. He didn't even hesitate to threaten Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered, "You dare to threaten me? I hate it when people threaten me. Therefore Niulang must die." In the next moment he mercilessly waved his arm, and the sharp sword light quickly slashed down. Like a graceful swan, it instantly blasted onto Niulang's body. How dare you? Seeing that the other party wasn't afraid of his threat at all, he continued to make a move. The Reverence Moon Elder's expression was extremely ugly. However, in the next moment he was stunned. His eyes even widened in disbelief. That was because the sword light had directly sliced Niulang in half, and his blood dyed the sky red. What? Killed? Cowherd was actually killed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb and their bodies trembled. This scene was too shocking. A dignified Holy Sun candidate was actually killed by a single sword strike? Not only the surrounding disciples, but even the moon-worshipping cult's martial artists were terrified, and their scalps went numb. They looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. As for Lin Xian, he stood with his hands clasped behind his back and looked around disdainfully. His body was surrounded by sharp sword light, making him look like a sword god, extremely powerful. Brat, go to hell. Suddenly the moon-worshipping cult's elder snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a resplendent light blasted towards Niulang. The power was terrifying and it made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that the Reverence Moon Elder's strength was above Niulang's. Not good, that brat is finished. What? The moon-worshipping cult's elder actually made a move? A group of people was shocked and their scalps went numb. Damned old man. Brother Lin, be careful. Fatty Luo and Du Fei cried out in alarm. On the battle stage, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the Reverence Moon Elder to make a move. However, even if the Reverence Moon Elder attacked, so what? His figure moved and he executed Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. His speed reached the limit and he disappeared from the spot in an instant. Boom. The entire battle stage shook and cracks appeared in the void. However, the palm strike missed and it didn't hurt Lin Xian at all. What? So fast? Everyone was shocked. They already knew that Lin Xian's speed was fast. However, they didn't expect him to be so fast. Even the moon-worshipping cult's elder's attack couldn't hit him. Damn it, what kind of footwork is that? Even the moon-worshipping cult's elder was shocked. With a roar, he was about to attack again. At this time Lin Xian sneered, "What a shameless moon-worshipping cult. The young one can't beat you and now you want the old one to make a move." He was truly a laughingstock of the world. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The Reverence Moon Elder roared, "Damn brat, what did you say?" "What did I say? I said you're shameless. What's your cultivation? What's your age? You want to attack me?" You really don't know shame. Is the moon-worshipping cult full of shameless people? Or are you saying that the younger generation is trash? Bastard, who do you think you are? You don't deserve this old man to make a move. However, you killed Niu Lang and your crime is unforgivable. This old man is going to kill you. What a joke, Niu Lang and I volunteered for the life and death battle. We have no regrets. Even if we die, we have no complaints. Now that Niu Lang has been killed, you want to take revenge? If that's the case, who would dare to fight on the life and death stage? Lin Xian sneered. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Indeed, Niu Lang had volunteered for the life and death battle. Moreover, the moon-worshipping cult's elder had disregarded his status and attacked a junior. Don't try to quibble. Since you dared to kill the moon-worshipping cult's people, you must pay the price. The Reverence Moon Elder's expression was ferocious. Lin Xian sneered, if the moon-worshipping cult continues to send out the younger generation, I will accept it without any hesitation. But if the older generation attacks, the world will laugh at them. What? Are the younger generation of the moon-worshipping cult all trash? None of them dare to attack? Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They could tell that Lin Xian was looking for trouble with the moon-worshipping cult. The moon-worshipping cult's elder was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He naturally knew what Huang Xiaolong was talking about. However, he couldn't accept Niu Lang's death. Therefore, he decided to disregard his status and kill the kid in front of him. Sigh, the moon-worshipping cult is really shameless. Humph, you think you can bully the younger generation just because you're old? How shameless. What? Is there no one else in the moon-worshipping cult? If there's no one in the younger generation, I don't mind becoming the moon-worshipping cult's holy son. Fatty Luo, Du Fei and the dark red divine dragon sneered. On the other hand, Lin Xian looked down and coldly said, Old thing, if you want to fight, sure. Suppress your cultivation to the level of a 2-star king, and we will have a fair fight. What? Suppress his cultivation to the level of a 2-star king? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Lin Xian sneered, What? You don't dare to accept? You don't even dare to fight at the same level, and you dare to be arrogant here? Chapter 1608. Everyone fell silent. Indeed, if one didn't have the guts to fight someone of the same realm, then they were truly cowards. The Reverence Moon Elder was trembling with anger, and his face was terrifyingly dark. Suppress his cultivation? Fight a 2-star king realm expert? What a joke. He had seen Huang Xiaolong's cultivation. Huang Xiaolong was a 2-star king realm expert who could kill a 5-star king realm expert. How could he compare to Huang Xiaolong's heaven-defying strength? Therefore, he wouldn't suppress his cultivation even if he was beaten to death. What a sharp-tongued brat. Just you wait, this matter won't end like this. My Reverence Moon cult has countless geniuses, and when the time comes, someone will take your dog life. The Reverence Moon Elder gritted his teeth, and with a wave of his sleeve, he turned around and left. The disciples of the Reverence Moon cult had a sinister expression on their faces as they glared at Lin Xian before leaving with the Reverence Moon cult. It's over? It's over just like that? Everyone couldn't believe it. They hadn't expected the Reverence Moon Elder to leave just like that. It seemed like he was afraid of Huang Xiaolong and didn't dare to fight someone of the same realm. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian with a solemn expression, and there was even a trace of fear. It was obvious that Huang Xiaolong was a genius and they couldn't defeat him. On the other hand, the dark red divine dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei smiled and said, Today is a good day and it's worth celebrating. Brother Lin, let's drink until we're drunk. Okay. Lin Xian laughed loudly and the few of them left quickly. In the crowd, the mysterious duo's eyes flickered. Among them, the tall middle-aged man smiled and said, Not bad, I didn't expect this brat's strength to exceed my expectations. The handsome young man beside him nodded and said, It's indeed surprising that he could kill the Holy Prince candidate Cowherd. I really look forward to his growth. At that time I'll kill him with a single slash. The tall middle-aged man sneered and a terrifying light flashed in his eyes. After that, the two of them disappeared once again and no one noticed them. In the restaurant, Lin Xian, the dark red divine dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei returned. Haha, this is great. Just imagining the Reverence Moon Elder's face makes me want to laugh. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Du Fei was also shocked. Brother Lin, amazing, I didn't expect you to be so strong. I dare to bet that even if he were to face a true saint, he wouldn't be too far off. Come, let's not leave until we're drunk. Several people laughed loudly and drank the spiritual wine together. They only left when night fell. Fatty Luo and Du Fei rented a mansion in Hanyang Ancient City. Lin Xian didn't have a place to stay, so he went with them. Late at night, the starry sky twinkled quietly. Lin Xian returned to his room, but he didn't sleep. Instead, he refined the spirit wine. After which, his eyes flickered with a profound light. Today's battle seemed easy, but it also gave him a lot of inspiration. After all, Cowherd was a candidate for Holy Sun. His strength was extremely powerful among the younger generation. Although Lin Xian did not use many moves, each of his moves was done with 120% of his concentration, using all of his strength. At this moment, he recalled the battle during the day once again to gain experience. At the same time, he held a piece of supreme grade substandard divine crystal in his hand and quickly absorbed the energy inside. Although he had killed Niu Lang, he didn't let his guard down. Niu Lang was only one of the candidates. Above him were the holy sons and the geniuses of other sects. Therefore, Lin Xian had to cultivate with all his strength to maintain his valiant battle strength and not fall behind the others. One had to know that the geniuses of the true spirit world were born with countless natural treasures, especially the geniuses of the Sure family and the holy lands of the primordial era. They were the favorites of heaven and earth. However, he had just arrived here. Therefore, he had to cultivate even harder in order to catch up with the others. He spent the entire night cultivating. The next day, Lin Xian opened his eyes as the sun rose in the east. The supreme grade substandard divine crystal in his hand had already dimmed. There wasn't much energy left in it. However, Lin Xian's strength had increased again. Not long after, Fatty Luo and Du Fei walked over with smiles on their faces and dragged Lin Xian to the street for breakfast. The group went out again. After breakfast, they strolled around the freezing Sun Valley city. The situation this time was obviously different. Not long after Lin Xian walked on the street, many people cupped their fists at him. "Morning, brother Lin." "Morning." Lin Xian replied with a smile. He knew that this was the effect of yesterday's battle. Now no one dared to look down on him. However, Fatty Luo and Du Fei exclaimed lightly. Then their eyes lit up and they looked forward as if they had found something good. "Brother Lin, come and look." The two greeted. Lin Xian was puzzled. He also looked forward. Then he was slightly taken aback. Because what appeared in front of him wasn't a treasure, but a woman. The woman was wearing a long blue dress. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She was incomparably beautiful and had an otherworldly aura. She was like a fairy from the Moon Palace. She was extremely beautiful. "What a beautiful woman!" the surrounding people exclaimed. Indeed, even Lin Xian nodded. Whether it was her appearance, figure, or temperament, there was nothing wrong with her. "Who is she?" Lin Xian asked. "The saintess of the Moon Palace, the Moon Fairy." "Why, are you tempted?" Fatty Luo said with a smile. Du Fei also joked, "I dare to bet that brother Lin must be tempted." The two laughed. "We've had a dream since we were young. That's to snatch the saintess of a large sect and make her our wife. I wonder if we have the chance this time?" Their voices weren't loud, but they weren't soft either. Therefore, the surrounding martial artists all heard them. Immediately their eyes widened. They couldn't believe their ears. Snatch the saintess as a wife? What a joke. Perhaps even those from the supreme sacred grounds and the clan of the ancients wouldn't dare to say that. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He knew that Fatty Luo and Du Fei were arrogant and daring, but he didn't expect them to have such a shocking idea. Even Fairy Guanghan, who was in the front, frowned. The Moon Palace disciples beside her looked even more gloomy. They glared at Lin Xian. Obviously, they were very unhappy with Fatty Luo and the others' words. Fatty Luo and Du Fei chuckled. They weren't afraid of the Moon Palace disciples' gazes at all. They even quickly sized up the Moon Fairy. "How dare you blaspheme the saintess of our sect? You're courting death." The Moon Palace disciples couldn't stand it anymore. They strode forward and a terrifying aura enveloped Fatty Luo and Du Fei. Even Lin Xian and the mystical dragon and Hong were enveloped by it. As for Fatty Luo and Du Fei, they were still grinning. "How dare we? How dare we? The saintess is beautiful. Of course she's there for others to see. We didn't say anything." Chapter 1609. You. The vast cold palace disciple was so angry that he vomited blood. This was a public area, so he naturally did not dare to attack. Lin Xian shook his head helplessly. He did not expect these two clowns to be so bold. The surrounding people's mouths twitched and their scalps went numb. They stared at Fatty Luo and Du Fei and whispered, "Who were these two people? How dare they be so disrespectful to the saintess of the vast cold palace?" However, judging from how arrogant the two of them were, they should be disciples of some powerful sect, right? Wasn't the person beside him Lin Xian? If he could be with such a genius, he must be of a high status. The crowd discussed animatedly. The saintess of the vast cold palace frowned and turned to leave. Hey fairy, don't go. Wait for me. Fatty Luo walked up to her and said with a smile, Fairy, I've missed you since we parted last time. Why don't we have a drink and chat? Aha, I bet that you have no chance, Fatty Luo. The fairy will not agree to your request, because she will accept my invitation. Du Fei also laughed and directly walked up. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect these two people to block the saintess of the vast cold palace. They were too bold. Even Lin Xian was surprised. The vast cold palace was a more powerful sect than Bai Yuexiao. The status of the vast cold palace's saintess was even more honorable. Even some elders would have to bow to her. But now, Fatty Luo and Du Fei didn't care at all and directly blocked his path. Lin Xian was very surprised to see the two's fearless appearance. Could it be that these two people had some shocking background? To be honest, Lin Xian was not very clear about the origins of these two people. However, they were all like-minded, so they were together. However, if he were to dig deeper, Lin Xian had no idea which sect they were from. The vast cold palace disciples were furious when they saw that someone was blocking their way. Some even drew their swords and sabers ready to attack. Fatty Luo and Du Fei were still grinning, not showing any fear. The saintess of Guanghan waved her hand and dismissed the warriors around her. Then she said coldly, You two please step aside. I really don't have time for drinks. If you want to spar, I don't mind meeting the two of you in the lawless zone. When the time comes, I'm afraid that your elders won't say anything if I make you suffer. Sai, forget about fighting and killing. Since you're not free, I won't force you. Fatty Luo shrugged and moved aside with Du Fei. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. This was too shocking. The two people in front of them were on the same level as the saintess of Guanghan. They were even flirting with her. What was even more shocking was that the saintess of Guanghan did not get angry. She only threatened him. This was too illogical. Unless these two people had some shocking background, so that even the saintess of Guanghan did not dare to kill them. Heavens, who are these two people? What's their background? For a moment, everyone was discussing. Lin Xian also walked forward and said with a smile, It seems that the two of you are not simple people. It's nothing. Fatty Luo shook his head. We're just a group of disciples from aristocratic families. We usually like to eat, drink and play. We don't have any big ambitions. Brother Lin, you won't alienate us because of our background, right? Du Fei asked on the other side. Why would I? You're my friends. Even if you're from the demonic path, it doesn't matter. Lin Xian shrugged. Ah, good. Just based on this sentence alone, you should drink a big cup. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. However, at this moment, a cold aura suddenly came from behind. It stared at them like a poisonous snake. Especially Lin Xian, the hair on his back stood up. He snorted coldly. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and a warm current instantly flowed through his body. The strange feeling disappeared. In the next moment he turned around and stared at the back with a lightning-like gaze. He had just killed the candidate of the moon-worshipping cult. Could be said that he was in the limelight. Ordinary people would not dare to provoke him. But now there was someone who was releasing killing intent toward him. It seemed that this person was very arrogant. On the side, Fatty Luo also turned around and shouted coldly, Who dares release killing intent toward me? Do you want to die? Everyone was also shocked and did not understand the situation. However, in the next moment they cried out in surprise. This was because several figures were walking toward them on the street behind them. The crowd dispersed like the tide. Moon-worshipping cult. It's the moon-worshipping cult. They're here again. Everyone exclaimed. They did not expect the moon-worshipping cult to make a comeback so soon. Sure enough, a few figures walked over from behind. One of them had a tall figure, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. It was extremely fierce. A piece of moonlight was embroidered on his sleeve. There was even a hazy full moon behind him. This person was also followed by a few disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment they were looking at Lin Xian with a sneer. You are Lin Xian? The tall youth's eyes were like lightning as he stared ahead and asked in a cold voice. Yes, I am. Lin Xian nodded coldly, then asked, Who are you? Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Hehe, you're as arrogant as the rumors say. But boy, you dare to kill the people of the moon-worshipping cult. I'll take your dog life. Someone said the same thing before, but now he's a dead man. I advise you not to boast. Are the people of the moon-worshipping cult only good at talking? Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shouted angrily, their expressions abnormally ferocious. However, Lin Xian shrugged indifferently. This was a public area. No matter how arrogant the other party was, they wouldn't dare to make a move here. The tall young man snorted, "Boy, you're too arrogant. Don't think you can be arrogant just because you killed a cowherd. I don't care about that kind of trash." That's right. This is our senior brother, Jianghu. He's a 5-star king. Boy, you're dead this time. What? Jianghu? It's him. 5-star king. As expected, the moon-worshipping cult is really angry this time. They actually sent such a powerful expert. Tianhu was also one of the candidates, but his strength was much stronger than Niu Lang's. Niu Lang was only a 4-star king, but Tianhu was a 5-star king. His strength was incomparably terrifying. He was even said to be the most likely candidate to become the next saint. 5-star king? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. He indeed had the right to be arrogant. 5-star king was already very terrifying among the younger generation. Moreover, as a candidate for the saint's position, the other party should have more cultivation methods and abilities. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and he didn't show any fear. In the past 2 days he had absorbed another piece of supreme-grade substandard divine crystal, which had increased his cultivation and strength by a lot. Chapter 16:10. Brat, you're too arrogant. How dare you say that my moon-worshipping cult's younger generation has no one? I'll kill you right now. Do you dare to fight to the death? Another fight to the death? The crowd was shocked. It seemed like the moon-worshipping cult was truly enraged this time. They wouldn't give up until they killed Lin Xian. At this moment, everyone wanted to know Lin Xian's answer. In fact, it was normal for Lin Xian to refuse at this time. He had just killed the successor Holy Prince Niu Lang and gained fame. He also dealt a blow to the moon-worshipping cult. He didn't need to fight anymore. Moreover, his opponent this time, Tianhu, was too powerful. He was a true 5-star king with terrifying strength. If Lin Xian were to duel with him, it was very likely that Lin Xian would be defeated or even killed. Therefore, the crowd guessed that Lin Xian wouldn't agree. However, Lin Xian sneered, "Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Not only you, from now on, as long as you're a member of the moon-worshipping cult's younger generation, I'll kill you," Lin Xian said coldly. His voice was filled with boundless killing intent, causing the crowd's scalp to go numb. Many of them couldn't believe their ears. Tianhu sneered, "Very good, you've agreed. Just wait to collect your corpse. Enjoy your last moments obediently." With that, he sneered and turned around to leave. The moon-worshipping cult's disciples and their friendly sect sneered. Tianhu was dead for sure this time. Even Fatty Luo and Du Fei had a solemn expression. They said, "Brother Lin, be careful. Although this Tianhu is arrogant, he's really strong. That cowherd can't compare to him." "Brat, can you do it? If you can't, then don't fight. When we're strong enough, we'll tear down the moon-worshipping cult," the dark red divine dragon advised. "It's fine." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. With the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, his speed had reached the limit. It could be said that he was invincible. However, in order to be safe, he decided to cut out a few pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals for cultivation. Therefore he, Fatty Luo, and the others went on the road again and went to a place that sold gambling stones. This time, Lin Xian used his martial Dao Celestial Eye to cut out another 2 pieces of subgrade divine crystals, which immediately attracted countless exclamations. They had long heard of Lin Xian's soul-seeking technique, but now, they had seen him easily cut out 2 pieces of substandard divine crystals. These people couldn't take it anymore. Their eyes were red with jealousy. However, no one dared to make a move. Because this was a public area, fighting was prohibited. Lin Xian didn't hesitate either. He sat down cross-legged in the public area with the 2 best quality subdivine crystals and began to cultivate. His current strength was already comparable to a 5-star king. However, if he could take another step forward, killing Tianhu wouldn't be difficult. He circulated the Immortality incantation and quickly absorbed the energy in the subdivine crystal. A faint light illuminated the surroundings. However, someone in the crowd sneered. "Don't you think it's too late to cultivate now?" "That's right. The duel is about to start. Even if he absorbs now, how much can he improve?" "What an idiot." It was a pity that 2 pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals were going to be used on a person who was about to die. Many people sneered, thinking that Lin Xian was going to lose and that it was useless to do anything now. However, some people shook their heads because Lin Xian was still able to maintain a calm attitude and cultivate silently. This kind of temperament was rare and could achieve great things. However, Lin Xian didn't care about these people. He separated a part of his soul power to observe the surroundings. He used the rest of his energy to absorb the energy. Time passed slowly. Finally, the two pieces of substandard divine crystals in Lin Xian's hand became dim. As for his cultivation, it was also rapidly increasing. It had become much stronger than before. He had now reached the middle two-star king realm. The great dragon sword soul in his body was filled with power like a real divine beast. It's done. Feeling the power in his body, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. If he was 80% sure that he could defeat Lin Xian before, then he was 100% sure that he could kill Lin Xian now. Let's go to the lawless zone, Lin Xian said indifferently. Haha, there's a good show to watch again. Fatty Luo was excited. Du Fei was even more direct. Let's bet. Let's bet. A shocking battle, a rare showdown. Bet on who you think will win. Come. Place your bets. The surrounding martial artists had nothing to do, so they all placed their bets. Of course, most of them bet on Jianghu. It couldn't be helped because Jianghu was too famous and was very strong. He was a real 5-star king. Although Lin Xian was strong, he was still much weaker than Jianghu. In particular, Lin Xian still relied on divine crystals to improve his cultivation before the battle. This made everyone suspicious. In fact, the odds had even risen to 1-5. However, Fatty Luo bet on Lin Xian and added a portion of the dark red divine dragon. Soon, the lawless zone became lively again. The commotion this time was even more shocking than before. Lin Xian had made a name for himself. Now, the entire ancient Hanyang city knew about this new genius. Tianhu's reputation had always been very strong. Therefore, this could be seen as a showdown between the new and old geniuses. This competition had even startled the other sky prides. The Guanghan Saintess of the Guanghan Palace and the 5 Elements Saint of the 5 Elements sect came to watch the battle. Among the crowd, the people of the Reverence Moon cult occupied the best spot. This time, they all gritted their teeth and swore to see Lin Xian killed with their own eyes. Among them, the Reverence Moon Elder's expression was gloomy and his eyes were sharp. He wanted to see how arrogant Lin Xian could be today. Everyone was paying close attention and looking forward to it. That was because this battle was definitely going to be very exciting. They had seen Lin Xian's means yesterday. Although he was only a 2-star king, the strength he displayed was enough to contend with a 5-star king. As for Tianhu, he was a true 5-star king. His strength was even more terrifying. No one knew what level he had reached. However, they knew that a few months ago, Tianhu had killed 3 5-star kings of the older generation. This achievement could be said to be very shocking. Ping pong. Tianhu's figure was tall and his aura was violent. He was like a giant walking in the void. There was even a muffled sound of thunder under his feet. Thunderclap steps. This is the earth-rank martial art, Thunderclap steps. This Tianhu was indeed powerful. He used an earth-rank martial art right off the bat. It seemed like he was determined to kill his opponent. Sure enough, Tianhu strode into the life and death arena with thunderclap steps. He then looked around and shouted coldly, "Brat, get over here and die." With a roar, thunder fell and pierced through the void. Chapter 16:11. Brat, get over here and die. With a furious roar, thunder fell from the sky and pierced through the void. That terrifying force made everyone's scalp go numb. So strong. This Tianhu is probably very powerful even among 5-star kings. Yeah, that brat is going to be unlucky. It's too difficult to fight Tianhu now. If he has another 10 years, he might be able to surpass Tianhu. Indeed, Lin Xian's brat is too young. He's only a 2-star king. If he's a 5-star king, Tianhu won't be a match for him. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. In their opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant. Fighting a 5-star king with his current cultivation was undoubtedly like hitting a rock with an egg. On the other side, Lin Xian, Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the others hadn't arrived yet, but they already heard the thunderous voice and terrifying aura. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's expressions changed again. They said in a deep voice, "Brother Lin, be careful. Don't worry about it." Lin Xian patted both of their shoulders and strode over. As he took a step forward, a mysterious Dao pattern appeared under his feet. It looked like a swimming dragon. In the next moment, he instantly appeared in the arena. What a fast movement technique. Lin Xian's movement technique shocked many people. This movement technique should also be an earth-grade martial art. And it doesn't look any weaker than the Thunder Shock steps. No wonder you could kill Niu Lang. It turns out that you have such a movement technique. In the arena, Tianhu was also surprised, but he soon sneered. It's a pity that you have no chance of winning against me. Because my Thunder Shock steps is a high-grade martial art. Tianhu was very confident because a high-grade earth-grade martial art was very profound. Even he hadn't fully grasped it. However, he believed that with his Thunder Shock steps he could easily kill his opponent. A high-grade earth-grade martial art? I see. Lin Xian nodded. His expression was calm, but he snorted disdainfully in his heart. Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps was a primordial immortal script martial art. It could be said to be a rare treasure. How could a mere high-grade earth-rank martial art compare to his Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps? Therefore, in the next moment he said indifferently, a high-grade earth-tier martial art is indeed not bad. I just don't know how far you can go. Make your move. Let me see if your movement technique is as arrogant as yours. Lin Xian casually waved his hand. You're courting death. When Tianhu saw this, he was furious. He was a 5-star King Realm expert and he was extremely powerful. The other party actually dared to look down on him? Unforgivable. Therefore, in the next moment, he coldly snorted and took a step forward. The sound of thunder came from his body. Immediately, the entire void trembled as countless bolts of lightning fell from the sky. Just the sound of the thunder was enough to pierce through the void. However, Lin Xian stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The space around him was unusually stable and there were no ripples at all. What a terrifying power. It can actually affect this space. When the surrounding people saw Lin Xian's move, they were all shocked. Tianhu roared. As his palms opened and closed, a ferocious tiger formed by lightning quickly pounced out. A roar shook the mountains and rivers. The ferocious tiger was extremely powerful, and it quickly charged towards Lin Xian. In an instant, the entire sky was completely covered by a sea of lightning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As for Lin Xian, his body swayed, leaving countless afterimages in the air. They were densely packed and filled the sky. It was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Omnidirectional thunderstorm. Destroy them all. Tianhu waved his hand and suddenly the violent power of lightning exploded, enveloping Lin Xian's afterimages. Ha! So what if you're fast? In the face of absolute power, nothing can withstand a single blow. He looked forward, his eyes flashing, and a sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Is that so? But I'll have to disappoint you. At this moment, a faint voice came from behind him. Hearing this voice, Tianhu's pupils shrank, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. Damn it, how is this possible? He was horrified. He did not expect that the other party had dodged all his attacks and secretly appeared behind him. However, he was also a decisive person. With a wave of his hand, a lightning sword formed in his palm and quickly stabbed behind him. Die, brat. The lightning sword flashed, piercing through the void at an extremely fast speed. Before the surrounding people could react, the lightning sword blasted Lin Xian's body and pierced through it. What? He hit him. Seeing this, the crowd was in an uproar, unable to believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. I knew it. That kid is dead meat. In a battle between experts, the outcome was often decided in one move. Now it seemed that this was true. What an idiot. How dare he fight with senior brother Tianhe? His brain must have been flooded with water. He's finished. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. Tianhu's lips curled into a sinister smile, and a low voice came from his mouth. Hee kid, it's all over. Boom. However, at this moment, a shining fist suddenly appeared in the void and slammed into Tianhu's face, sending him flying. Boom. The void exploded, and the entire sky trembled. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. What's going on? What's going on? Who attacked him? Wasn't that kid killed? Why is there still someone attacking Tianhu? At this moment, everyone's mind went blank. Damn it. Who is it? Tianhu was also mad. He spat out his broken teeth and roared madly. Of course it's me. You're really an idiot. Do you really think you can keep up with my speed? Lin Xian slowly walked out of the void. His body floated like a banished immortal. His entire body exuded a supreme aura, and he did not look injured at all. What? This is impossible. I clearly stabbed you. Seeing that his opponent was unharmed, Tianhu's eyes widened in disbelief. The next moment he screamed, damn it, that was also an afterimage? What? The surrounding people exclaimed. They also could not believe that Tianhu stabbed an afterimage? Just how fast was Lin Xian's speed? How could he hide from everyone? Damn it, I don't believe it. I don't believe you can surpass my thunder shock steps. Tianhu roared madly. His footwork was incomparably terrifying. With his huge body, he was like a gust of wind as he charged forward quickly. Thunder shock steps, thunder shock step. This was an advanced Earth-class movement skill, and its speed was terrifying to the extreme. Almost no one in the same class could compare to it. However, he was unlucky to meet Lin Xian. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The two of them moved quickly in the air. Lin Xian used Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, and within 8 steps he was extremely fast. Therefore, no matter how fast the thunder shock steps was, it could not catch up with Lin Xian. Chapter 16:12. At this moment, his hair was disheveled and he was in a sorry state. He was no longer as arrogant and haughty as before. Tianhu? What are you doing? Don't compete with him in terms of speed. Just kill him. At this moment, Elder Baiwei, who was below, shouted coldly. After Tianhu heard this, he stopped and his eyes regained their clarity. He was no longer in a frenzy. Instead, he revealed a ferocious expression. I admit that you're faster than me, but so what? Today is a battle of life and death. It's not just a competition of speed. I'll let you know that other than speed, you have nothing else. He roared and lightning flashed all over his body. Countless bolts of lightning surged and covered the entire arena like a thundercloud. Kid, I've already sealed the arena with divine lightning. Let's see how you're going to escape. Tianhu revealed a ferocious expression again. Everyone's expression changed as they started to worry for Lin Xian. Oh no, he's sealed in the arena. Lin Xian won't be able to escape. Yeah, he's confined in a certain space. Even if he has the ultimate movement technique, it won't be of much use. However, Lin Xian sneered. Why should I escape? Do you think you can defeat me? Tianhu roared. Kid, I think you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Fine, I'll kill you now and let you know the consequences of offending me. There was a rumbling sound. Tianhu waved his fist and endless lightning surrounded him. The terrifying power caused the entire space to tremble. This is my lightning tiger territory. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Tianhu laughed heartily at the sky. With a wave of his hand, countless majestic figures surged out and charged at Lin Xian. I don't need to dodge to deal with you. Lin Xian looked calm. He clenched his fist and pulled out the 9 darkness demonic sword from the empty palace. He slashed forward. Like a volcanic eruption, the sword chi in the sky slashed down quickly and shattered all the lightning tigers. The terrifying sword chi caused the entire space to tremble. What? So powerful? Seeing this sword chi, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. They thought that since Lin Xian was sealed in the space, he had no advantage in speed and couldn't move at all. Only death awaited him. But now it seemed that they were all wrong. The reason for that was because not only was his speed extremely fast, but his battle prowess was also incomparably terrifying. With a single sword strike, he was able to cut through countless bolts of lightning. Such a technique was unheard of. Tianhu's expression also changed. He did not expect the other party's combat strength to be so strong. This was completely out of his expectations. However, he gritted his teeth and swung his fist again. Because he had no other choice. Only by killing the person before him could he win. Punch after punch, the shocking power was like a wave, destroying everything. The entire space fell into nothingness, and the lightning in the sky quickly fell, one after another, bombarding all directions. Underworld Dao waning moon break. Lin Xian waved the 9 nether devil sword, directly cutting open a spatial crack. It was as if he had opened the gates of hell, causing the endless energy storm to be completely devoured. As for him, he was not harmed at all. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect that in addition to having extreme speed, Lin Xian also had such a strange and terrifying technique. What is that? Why did all the energy suddenly disappear? It's a space technique, it's a space technique. He can actually make use of space. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They had never seen such a technique before. Tianhu's face was even more dazed. He did not expect that his violent energy could not hurt the other party. This made him unable to believe it. However, opposite him, Lin Xian coldly said, "You've finished your attack, now it's my turn." Azure Dragon Break. With a thrust of his sword, a sword light appeared in the void, like an azure dragon, quickly rushing forward. Boom. The lightning tiger shadows that filled the sky were shattered into pieces at this moment, no longer existing. Tianhu was also sent flying by this move. Fortunately, at the critical moment he summoned an ancient shield which blocked most of the attack. Otherwise this attack would definitely have pierced through him. However, he was not in a good state now. That terrifying sword chi directly penetrated deep into his body, causing him to suffer extremely serious injuries. Even his spiritual power could not circulate smoothly. Not bad as expected of a 5-star king. You can actually block my sword. Indeed, you have some skills. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Indeed, an ordinary 4-star king would not be able to block his move at all. However, the other party blocked it. Although he was injured, it was not fatal. Hearing this, Tianhu's face turned gloomy. It was very unpleasant. Who was he? He was a 5-star king. A successor candidate. He was so powerful that even the older generation could not suppress him. But now, a 2-star king dared to look down on him? This was intolerable. Damn it, go to hell. With a furious roar, Tianhu's black hair fluttered. His body was tall and carried a murderous aura. He was really mad. He had to kill the other party to vent his anger. The next moment he waved his palms and a full moon appeared in his palms, emitting a red glow. In his right palm a lightning tiger circled. Both palms struck out together, shaking heaven and earth. The momentum was extremely vast. The red full moon floated in the sky, carrying monstrous flames that spread in all directions. The lightning tiger phantom was even more terrifying. As soon as it appeared in the sky, divine lightning descended from all directions. It was like a heavenly tribulation. This terrifying scene shocked everyone and they quickly retreated. Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand, his eyes emitting a cold light. In the next moment, endless sword light bloomed from his body. The demonic sword in his hand slashed down. The sword light was as thick as a mountain, terrifying to the extreme. The full moon in the sky and the terrifying lightning tiger were split apart by the sword. What? Impossible. Tianhu was shocked and in disbelief. This was already his full-strength attack. Why couldn't he resist the other party? Could it be that the other party was really so powerful? Surpassed him? This made him in disbelief. In the next moment his expression changed drastically. Because he discovered that the other party was quickly charging towards him. In an instant he had already arrived in front of him. Get lost. Tianhu roared angrily and punched out, carrying shocking thunder and lightning. However, he collided with a green sword shadow. A green domain appeared around the other party, shining with a cold light, making his hair stand on end. This domain was naturally Lin Xian's dragon sword domain. He stood in the domain like a sword god, and the demonic sword in his hand was shining with a cold light. In the next moment he held the demonic sword in his hand and directly stabbed forward. Let's end this. The 9 darkness demonic sword pierced into the other party's body, directly breaking open a black hole. Tianhu struggled frantically wanting to resist, but there was nothing he could do. Chapter 16:13. Boom. A loud explosion shook the stage. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that the terrifying Tianhu, a 5-star king, had been killed. Especially the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. Their bodies began to tremble as if they had seen a ghost. Impossible. Damn it. How could this kid kill senior brother Tianhu? They were going crazy. Yesterday the other party had killed their senior brother Niu. Today he had killed their senior brother Tianhu. They couldn't accept it. Those were 2 latecomers after all. They had died in the hands of the same person. It was too shocking. The moon-worshipping cult's elder's face was even more ferocious. Killing intent surrounded his body. At this moment he was finally enraged. The other party had killed another one of their young geniuses. He couldn't explain it to the sect. Kid, go to hell. With a roar, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. The heavenly hand slapped down rapidly as if it wanted to smash Lin Xian into meat paste. Umph. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and stepped out of the stage with extreme speed. Rumble. In the next moment, the ancient stage was covered by the heavenly hand. It shook violently and cracks even appeared in some places. How terrifying. The moon-worshipping cult's elder is too strong. However, what shocked everyone was that the other party had really made his move. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. The moon-worshipping elder snorted coldly when his attack failed. With a wave of his hand, countless rays of blade light appeared in all directions. Each ray was like a crescent moon. Red light filled the sky and emitted a resplendent light. Go. With a roar, the crescent moon blade light slashed towards Lin Xian. In all directions, the entire space was in complete chaos. Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps at extreme speed. Lin Xian let out a long roar and pushed his footwork to the limit. At this moment, his figure was so fast that it was unbelievable. The rays of blade light that filled the sky brushed past his body, but none of them hit him. What? He dodged all of them? No way. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Even the Reverence Moon Elder's face sank. He did not expect his opponent's movement technique to be so strange that he was able to dodge his attack. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. Such a person was too terrifying. If he was allowed to continue growing, he would definitely become a god of war in the future. Such a person must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would become a great enemy of moon-worshipping cult. Fuck, old man, you're too shameless. How dare you attack a junior? Come on, look. The moon-worshipping cult is shameless enough to assassinate a young genius. At this moment, Fatty Luo and Du Fei also roared furiously. Their voices were like thunder, shaking the surroundings. You're courting death. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult was furious. At this moment, he no longer cared about anything else and started attacking Fatty Luo and Du Fei. A full moon hung in the sky, like a huge mountain, quickly pressing down. On the other hand, Fatty Luo and Du Fei had cold smiles on their faces. In the next moment, they waved their hands and an ancient pagoda appeared in the sky. It quickly spun and enveloped them. The red full moon crashed into the pagoda, causing the entire void to tremble. However, it did not break at all. Old man, you dare to attack me? You're dead meat. I bet you'll regret it. Fatty Luo and Du Fei sneered. However, they did not show any fear at all. They were very confident in their treasures. The others were also puzzled. They did not expect the pagoda to be able to block the moon-worshipping elder's attack. It looked extraordinary. Who exactly were these two people? First, they found trouble with the moon saintess. Now, they were provoking the moon-worshipping elder. Could it be that they really had a shocking origin? At this moment, everyone was extremely puzzled. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult had gone completely crazy. He could not kill Lin Xian, but now even Fatty Luo and Du Fei could not do anything to him? This was intolerable. In the next moment, he stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the pagoda in the sky, wanting to blast it away. The pagoda was extremely dazzling, blooming with dazzling light as it resisted the terrifying palm. At the same time, Fatty Luo sneered. "Old man, you're really dead meat." After saying that, he took out another item from his chest and threw it forward. Not good. Seeing this scene, everyone's face changed drastically and they retreated. They were afraid that the other party would take out another destructive weapon. However, in the next moment they were stunned. Because the other party took out a silver token and threw it on the ground. What is this? Is it another treasure? Everyone was puzzled and looked carefully. However, after waiting for a long time, they did not see any changes. The moon-worshipping elder sneered, "Little thing, you want to scare me? Really?" Before he finished speaking, he looked at the token on the ground in front of him. However, in the next moment his voice stopped. He screamed as if he had encountered the most terrifying thing in his life. "Damn it, why do you have this thing?" The moon-worshipping elder quickly withdrew his hand. He should not have attacked at all. "What is the relationship between you and the person who has this token?" he asked in shock. There was even a trace of trembling in his voice. "Why don't you guess?" Fatty Luo sneered and Du Fei snorted, "Old man, I can guarantee that you're really dead this time. I didn't know your identity." "A sin." The moon-worshipping elder's face was gloomy as he quickly apologized. Then, his figure flashed and he quickly left with all the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. What? They left just like that? Everyone was stunned, not knowing what had happened. Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect that Fatty Luo would take out a silver token and scare the moon-worshipping elder away. What on earth is that silver token? Who are Fatty Luo and the others? He was extremely puzzled. The dark red divine dragon's eyes flickered when it saw the silver token. Although it had been suppressed in the martial sky continent for thousands of years, it did not understand the changes in the true spirit world. However, it still felt that the silver token was very familiar. You ran fast." Fatty Luo snorted coldly and put away the silver token. Then he turned to Lin Xian and said with a smile, "Brother Lin, you're too strong. You killed another holy prince candidate of the moon-worshipping cult." "That's right. I bet that they're absolutely mad." The two of them cheered. At the side, the dark red divine dragon also breathed a sigh of relief. As for the surrounding martial artists, they were all dumbfounded. Even now they still could not believe that Jianghu had been killed. Let's go. Lin Xian also breathed a sigh of relief. His figure flashed and he landed on the ground. Then the group walked out. The crowd automatically moved aside, opening a path. Many people even trembled slightly when they saw Lin Xian. It was obvious that the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. Chapter 16:14. The crowd automatically parted to make a path for him. Many people even trembled slightly when they saw Lin Xian. Obviously, the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. However, two figures appeared in front of him again. One was a handsome young man, and the other was a tall middle-aged man. Both of them wore black robes and cloaks, hiding their true appearances. They didn't block the way and just brushed past Lin Xian. However, when they walked past Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. It was a huge shock, as if he had received an earth-shattering threat. What is this? He quickly turned around and looked behind him. However, the two mysterious figures didn't stop at all. Instead, they quickly walked into the crowd and disappeared. Who are those two? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Even the reverenced Moon Elder wasn't able to shock him. However, the two of them made his hair stand on end just by walking past him. They must be peerless experts. Lin Xian guessed that these two people's strength was at least at the almighty level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a reaction. What's wrong? Fatty Luo asked curiously. They didn't feel that unusual aura. Nothing. Lin Xian shook his head. The other party should be a peerless expert passing by and shouldn't have any interaction with him. Let's go back. I'm a little tired from this battle. Their figures flickered and disappeared from the street. Back in his room, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He had consumed a lot of energy in this battle, so he quickly sat down cross-legged to recover his strength. At the same time, his dark red divine dragon sent a voice transmission, asking him to prepare some materials to set up a formation. Although the dark red divine dragon was puzzled, he still did as he was told. In the evening, Lin Xian opened his eyes. He had recovered to his peak state. Kid, why did you ask me to prepare these formations? Of course. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Moon-worshipping cult and I are already mortal enemies. That elder of the moon-worshipping cult must be unwilling to accept this. Who knows when he will try to assassinate me. Instead of being on tenterhooks, why don't we take the initiative and kill him? You want to make a move? This is great. That old man, I'm also annoyed just by looking at him. Brat, I'll help you deal with him. Lin Xian nodded but then reminded, don't tell Fatty and Du Fei about this. Save them the trouble of worrying. Also, we'll take action after midnight. I understand. An Hong mystical dragon chuckled. Then she started studying the array again. On the other hand, Lin Xian closed his eyes again. He took out 2 subdivine crystals and began to cultivate. At night, the ancient city of Hanyang was very lively. People were dancing and singing. In the southwest of the ancient city of Hanyang, there was a huge mansion. This was the residence of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment, the atmosphere in the mansion was gloomy and even a little cold. Every disciple of the moon-worshipping cult wore a solemn expression. This was because they had lost 2 holy sun candidates in a short span of 2 days. This was unacceptable to them. Elder, why did we give up the best opportunity to kill that brat during the day? That's right, Elder. That brat is too hateful. We can't take this lying down. In the main hall, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult wore a ferocious expression. The moon-worshipping elder, who was sitting at the front, had a dark expression. What do you know? That silver token has a terrifying origin. Even I don't dare to provoke it. Hearing this, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were shocked. They didn't expect the silver token to have such a terrifying origin. Even their elders were extremely fearful of them. But soon they gritted their teeth and said, are we really going to give up and let that brat be arrogant? Give up? How can we? That brat killed our moon-worshipping cult's genius. He must be killed. However, we can't be reckless. At the very least, we can't make a move in front of the 2 brats who have the silver token. Don't worry, they won't be together forever. As long as that Lin Xian is alone, we'll kill him immediately. Yes, not only him but also his 2 pets. We have to kill them as well. The female disciple gritted her teeth. Until now, the scar on her face hadn't healed. Don't worry. The moon-worshipping cult's elder sneered. Since he dares to provoke our moon-worshipping cult, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death. He'll regret being born in this world. The group of disciples roared with laughter again. Is that so? You're really vicious. It seems like we really can't let you stay in this world. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed in the main hall. As soon as this voice came out, it immediately shocked everyone. Who is it? Come out. Coming to our moon-worshipping cult's territory and acting so atrociously, I think you don't want to live anymore. Angry roars echoed in the hall. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to act atrociously in their territory. No need to shout, I'm right in front of you. A cold sneer sounded again. Then a figure appeared in the middle of the hall. What? It's you. Seeing the figure, everyone from the moon-worshipping cult was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes. Because the person who came was none other than Lin Xian. Brad, it's really you? Everyone was shocked. Then they started to laugh. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Since you dare to come here to die, I'll let you know the consequences of offending our moon-worshipping cult. Not only was the moon-worshipping cult's elder laughing coldly, but the other disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were also laughing hysterically. They didn't expect that the other party would dare to come to their territory. However, they didn't let their guard down. They were afraid that the other party would bring some powerful experts with him. Therefore, in the next moment they quickly spread out their soul force and scanned the area. Other than Lin Xian, there were no other experts. Immediately, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Brat, I have to say, you're too stupid. You actually dared to come here alone. But this is good too. It saves me the trouble of looking for you everywhere. I'll use your head as a sacrifice to my moon-worshipping cult's geniuses. So much nonsense. Lin Xian was getting impatient. I'm here today to deal with all of you. If you have any tricks up your sleeve, just use them. Deal with us? Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe their ears. Brat, you're too arrogant. Who do you think you are? How dare you say that you'll deal with us? The Reverence Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He didn't believe Huang Xiaolong. No matter how strong the other party was, he was only on the same level as Tianhu. But as the Reverence Moon Elder, he was stronger than Tianhu. Other than the Reverence Moon Elder, there were dozens of moon-worshipping cult's disciples. They were all elite experts. How could the other party defeat all of them by himself? Therefore, in the Reverence Moon Elder's opinion, Lin Xian's actions were no different than sending himself to death. Alone? Who said I'm alone? Chapter 16:15. What? He's not alone? There's someone else? Who did you bring with you? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Even the Reverence Moon Elder's face turned solemn. If the other party really brought some expert with him, it would be hard to say what would happen. Of course it's this emperor. A roar echoed through the hall as the dark god Divine Dragon's figure appeared in the hall. What? A four-horned snake. Everyone was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. Ah, Brat, I think water must have entered your brain. You actually brought a four-legged snake. You want to kill us with just the two of you? What a joke. Pui, you're the snakes, a bunch of ants. You've really angered this emperor. This emperor will definitely cook you and eat you later. The dark god Divine Dragon snorted coldly. Lin Xian asked, how is it? Is the formation set up? Don't worry, it's already set up. The entire mansion has been completely sealed off. Even if there's an earth-shattering battle here, no one outside will know. That's good. Lin Xian nodded his head. This way he wouldn't have to worry about anything else. What? Sealed? And no one outside will know. That's great. The Reverence Moon Sect's disciples roared with laughter. The Reverence Moon Elder's face was twisted with malevolence. Brat, I was worried that you'd attract the attention of the law enforcement team. Who would have thought that you'd actually use a formation to seal the entire mansion? This way it'll save me a lot of trouble. Since that's the case, you can go to hell. The Reverence Moon Elder was overjoyed. Everything the other party had done had saved him a lot of trouble. Hence he didn't show any mercy. A red palm carrying boundless raging flames quickly reached out and slapped towards Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the entire void was distorted. Lin Xian's figure flickered, and he dodged the most violent attack. He appeared at the side of the hall, and a resplendent sword light burst out from his body. The 9 nether devil swords swung out, and black sword chi swept across the void, slicing apart the sea of flames, creating a vacuum. Then, several sword chi streaked across the void, slashing towards the Reverence Moon Elder. Without the obstruction of the sea of flames, the black sword chi arrived before the Reverence Moon Elder and slashed ruthlessly. Boom! The Reverence Moon Elder roared, and his other hand clenched into a fist as he punched out. When the terrifying sword chi collided with the Reverence Moon Elder's attack, a tearing sound could be heard. Two black holes appeared in the void, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire hall was torn apart in an instant. The surrounding moon-worshipping cult's disciples retreated frantically. Their faces were filled with fear. The shockwaves of this energy had already exceeded the limits of what they could withstand. They didn't dare to approach them. That was a divine dragon. It was a terrifying existence. It didn't take long for the Reverence Moon Elder's disciples to scream miserably. Some of them were even slapped into a bloody mist. In an instant, everyone fled in a frenzy. They wanted to leave this place. Unfortunately, the entire mansion had been sealed by the divine dragon. They couldn't escape. Oh, damn it! Why can't it be broken? The Reverence Moon Elder's disciples roared in a frenzy. They were terrified. They finally understood how laughable they were. When they heard that Lin Xian and the others had sealed the mansion, they were filled with disdain. They thought that they were trapped in a trap of their own making. They were courting death. But now it seemed like they were gravely mistaken. This seal was originally prepared for them. Now none of them could escape. Could it be that this was all part of the other party's plan? The Reverence Moon Elder's disciples despaired. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder and Lin Xian exchanged several blows. It was hard to determine the victor. But in the next moment, when he saw his subordinates being killed and fleeing, his face turned hideous. He didn't expect a four-legged snake to be so powerful. He even killed many of his disciples. He couldn't accept it. I'm going to kill you. The Reverence Moon Elder roared in a frenzy. A fiery red light burst out from his body, stirring up the clouds. He was like a fire god as he charged forward, wanting to kill the divine dragon. Your opponent is me. However, Lin Xian slashed out with his sword. Terrifying black sword chi roared in the air like a long river of the netherworld, blocking the Reverence Moon Elder's path. Lin Xian's sword chi was extremely sharp. The Reverence Moon Elder didn't dare to take it head-on. Hence, he could only use his martial arts to defend himself. Damn it! Get lost. A fist shot out, bringing with it fiery red chi waves. It was as if a full moon was descending from the sky. Not only that, the surroundings were filled with thunderous roars. However, the black sword chi roared like a black dragon. It spiraled in all directions and collided with the fiery red fist. A shocking explosion occurred. At this time, several disciples were slapped into a bloody mist. The Reverence Moon Elder had really gone crazy. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. Originally, Lin Xian and the divine dragon were like ants in his eyes. However, the strength displayed by the two of them had shocked him to the core. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to go all out. Otherwise, not many of his disciples would be able to survive. With a roar, the Reverence Moon Elder unleashed his powerful strength. In an instant, a sea of fire surged around him and a full moon floated in the air. A full moon rising from a sea of fire. This was the Reverence Moon Elder's domain. Brat, you've really angered me. Today I'll let you know what regret is. The Reverence Moon Elder unleashed his king's domain, and his voice was unusually cold. At this moment he displayed boundless confidence. It was as if he could destroy everything with a raise of his hand. Although you're strong, you're only a mid-stage 5-star king. Lin Xian's gaze was firm and he wasn't afraid at all. Indeed, he could deal with a mid-stage 5-star king. You're too arrogant. I'll let you know my true strength. The Reverence Moon Elder was brimming with confidence. With a wave of his hand, a boundless sea of fire surged out. Along with tens of thousands of rays of moonlight, it descended rapidly. Boom! The void exploded in an instant. Powerful energy whistled in all directions, causing the entire space to tremble rapidly. Lin Xian also let out a long roar, and the dragon sword spiritual domain was formed. Sword chi filled the sky, and a huge sword-shaped domain appeared in the void. After that, Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless rays of sword chi intersected, forming numerous green dragons that roared in all directions. Chapter 16:16. Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless streaks of sword chi intersected, forming numerous azure dragons that roared in all directions. In the next moment, the two king domains collided, and it was as if 100,000 mountains were shaking in the sky. Terrifying energy surged and the entire void collapsed. The surrounding Reverence Moon cult's disciples were sent flying by the shockwave. Fortunately, the entire mansion was sealed by the dark red divine dragon, and no one outside could see what was happening. Otherwise their jaws would have dropped to the ground. Ping ping ping. The two king domains collided continuously, and every strike was terrifying to the extreme. This is impossible. Damn it. How can your king domain be so strong? The Reverence Moon Elder went crazy and he couldn't believe it. He was a 5-star king, and his king domain was extremely terrifying. His opponent was just a 2-star king, and under normal circumstances, his king domain could easily break his opponent's domain. But now he couldn't do it. His opponent's king domain was too powerful, and it made his king domain tremble rapidly. I don't believe it. The Reverence Moon Elder roared crazily, and a resplendent light erupted from his body. At the same time, a biting cold killing intent shook the surroundings. At this moment he pushed his combat strength to the limit, and he swore that he would eliminate the person in front of him. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to sleep in the future. You don't believe it? Then I'll beat you until you believe it. With a low growl, Lin Xian's right leg swept out. Instantly the dragon sword domain shook, and endless sword chi surrounded him. At this moment, Lin Xian's right leg was like an azure dragon, crossing the void and sweeping forward with terrifying strength. The Reverence Moon Elder waved his hand, and the moonlight in the sky condensed into a long red blade that emitted a terrifying killing intent. In the next moment he viciously slashed forward. Boom boom. Shocking collision sounds rang out, and the long blade slashed on the azure dragon's leg. However, he couldn't slash down. Lin Xian's right leg was like a true dragon, and it was extremely powerful. Break for me. Lin Xian roared, and his right leg swung out again. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out as the kick shattered the long red saber. Not only that, but the Reverence Moon Elder also suffered a series of attacks and he was sent flying in the air. Impossible. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shook their heads frantically when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that their own elder would actually be forced back. They couldn't believe it. The Reverence Moon Elder's face was extremely ugly. He couldn't believe that his opponent's strength had surpassed his own. Kid, I have to admit that you are a peerless genius. But since you dared to provoke my moon-worshipping cult, I can't let you live. Reverence Moon Elder's voice was filled with malevolence. Then he took out a red pill and quickly swallowed it. I will kill you no matter the cost. He was like a mad beast roaring furiously. In the next moment his body rumbled like a real dragon. His blood and chi burned and his strength rose again. The Reverence Moon Elder roared, and his palm was like a full moon as it slammed onto Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the Reverence Moon Elder to have such a move. At the critical moment he executed the Mirror of Tranquility. Boundless sword chi revolved around his body, forming a mirror to defend himself. However, this punch was truly too violent. It directly blasted the mirror apart. Lin Xian was forced back by the impact, and the energy in his body churned. This punch had injured him and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ha! Kid, now you know how powerful I am. Today you will die without a doubt. The Reverence Moon Elder laughed maniacally when he saw that Huang Xiaolong was injured. Kid, are you alright? The dark red divine dragon exclaimed from afar. I'm fine. Lin Xian replied. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and quickly circulated the art of immortality, suppressing the restless energy and spiritual energy in his body. As expected of an elder, you are really strong. Your strength is much stronger than Tianhu's. You actually managed to injure me. Lin Xian was surprised. He had to admit that the Reverence Moon Elder was a powerful opponent. Very good. It's been a long time since I met a worthy opponent. I hope you won't disappoint me. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly, and he was extremely excited. Damn it, how did this happen? On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder's face was gloomy. This was completely different from what he had expected. He had injured Lin Xian with a single punch. Shouldn't Lin Xian be screaming in disappointment? However, from the looks of it, Lin Xian seemed to be very excited. What was going on? How could the Reverence Moon Elder know that his punch had completely ignited Lin Xian's battle intent? At this moment, Lin Xian's blood was boiling. He was like a battle maniac and he was extremely excited. Let me see how strong you are. Lin Xian executed the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and charged forward with the Dragon Sword domain. When the Reverence Moon Elder saw Lin Xian, he roared, "You're courting death." He couldn't accept the fact that Lin Xian had taken the initiative to attack him. Not to mention he had already consumed a pill, and his strength had increased. He could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Lin Xian. With a roar, the Reverence Moon Elder executed his ultimate technique and fought with Lin Xian. His palms trembled slightly and red divine flames surged out. They rushed forward at high speed as if they wanted to burn everything to ashes. In the sky, the endless clouds were instantly shattered and disappeared without a trace. Lin Xian's technique was shocking. With a raise of his hand, he could destroy heaven and earth and change the clouds in the void. Good timing. Lin Xian roared and his eyes shone brightly. The 9 nether devil sword tore through heaven and earth, and it swept forward with destructive energy waves. At the same time he flicked his finger. The void-shattering finger flickered, and it went straight for the Reverence Moon Elder's head. The dragon sword domain around him shone even brighter, and it made him look like a demon god. It was incomparably terrifying. Boom. Sword chi slashed down, and the terrifying flames in the sky were sliced apart. At the same time, the void-shattering finger moved unpredictably, and it shot towards the Reverence Moon Elder. However, the Reverence Moon Elder wasn't an ordinary person, and his strength had increased. The moment the void-shattering finger appeared, he quickly dodged. Break. The finger slammed into his arm and a hole appeared. Ah! The Reverence Moon Elder went berserk, and black winds surged as he attacked once again. Blinding light shone from his body, and he looked like a god of fire. His aura was oppressive. He slapped out with his palm and the momentum was terrifying. It was as if the palm of a god of fire had descended from the sky, and it enveloped all directions. The palm carried a shocking amount of devil energy and it burned fiercely. The surrounding sword chi became dim due to the heat. Lin Xian held the devil sword in his hand, and he slashed out in all directions. At the same time, the dragon sword domain bloomed with resplendent light, and endless sword chi rushed out. Every ray of sword chi was divine red. It was extremely resplendent. Chapter 16-17. The battle between the two shook the heavens and the earth. Divine light soared into the sky, and killing intent filled the air. It was as though the entire place had turned into hell. After exchanging blows, the Reverence Moon Elder's heart pounded wildly. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. The battle intent and strength displayed by his opponent was too strong. Even the Reverence Moon Elder couldn't suppress it. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder finally went berserk. He ignited his spiritual energy to obtain a terrifying amount of energy and sent out 3 powerful palm strikes. The flames in the sky roiled, and the spiritual energy in the surroundings surged. A vermilion bird flew out from the Reverence Moon Elder's palm and grew bigger. Its entire body was scarlet red, and it emitted a red glow. It was exceptionally beautiful. However, behind this beauty, there was an eternal killing intent. The vermilion bird's body carried a terrifying amount of energy. The moment it appeared, the space around it couldn't withstand it. The vermilion bird spread its wings and it charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared as he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps. His speed reached the limit. He constantly changed his position in the air as he dodged the attack. After dodging the main attack, Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly as he swung the 9 nether devil sword. The sword slashed down rapidly. Buzz. He slashed out 3 times in a row. Lin Xian's face turned pale. The first sword slashed towards the Reverence Moon Elder's scarlet vermilion bird. The sword slashed towards the vermilion bird with overwhelming killing intent. Resplendent rays of light erupted as the sword slashed towards the vermilion bird. The entire space exploded, and divine light shone down, illuminating the entire sky. At the same time, Lin Xian's second sword appeared. This sword slashed through the sky and it traveled thousands of miles in an instant. In an instant, it appeared in front of the Reverence Moon Elder and slashed downwards. It was as though it wanted to split the Reverence Moon Elder in half. Scram! The Reverence Moon Elder's pupils shrank. He didn't expect Huang Xiaolong's sword chi to be so strange. He quickly waved his hand and the scarlet domain in the sky shook. A terrifying wall of fire formed in front of him. At the same time, the Reverence Moon Elder retreated. But at that moment, Lin Xian finally unleashed his third slash. This was Huang Xiaolong's true killing move. The shocking sword radiance emitted a monstrous murderous aura. It was as if countless divine lights had gathered together and turned into a black ring that pressed down rapidly. What? There is more. The Reverence Moon Elder's scalp went numb when he saw this scene. However, he gritted his teeth, and his face was incomparably ferocious. This time he actually ignored the sword chi and allowed it to descend. Then he quickly waved his palms twice. This time, 2 more vermilion birds flew toward Lin Xian. A huge beam of light shot up, like a dancing demonic beast, like a child purple phoenix soaring through the sky. 2 shadows instantly crashed into Lin Xian's body. Boom. Heaven and earth shook violently and the void split open. A huge explosion quickly took place. At that moment, even the cultivators in the outside world were suspicious because they also felt an indescribable energy. However, these people did not discover any battle after investigating, so they stopped paying attention to it. Inside the Reverence Moon Mansion, it was a tragic scene. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He had suffered heavy injuries. However, he circulated the Immortality incantation, and the blood in his body surged like a dragon, quickly recovering. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder was also severely injured. That sword strike had almost split him into 2. Right now, his hair was disheveled and he quickly swallowed pills to heal his body. However, he was ecstatic because he knew that Lin Xian's injuries were even more severe. Those 2 palm strikes were absolutely terrifying. Even a 5-star king would not be able to withstand it. Therefore Lin Xian was dead meat. Haha. Kid, let's see how you're going to die this time. However, the Reverence Moon Elder was stunned because he realized that Lin Xian had actually stood up. What? How is this possible? The Reverence Moon Elder's pupils shrank and he could not believe it. Lin Xian had clearly been hit, so how could he stand up? Damn it. This is impossible. The Reverence Moon Elder screamed crazily. He could not believe that someone had such tenacious vitality. Even a 5-star king would have been killed by those 3 palm strikes. However, Lin Xian had actually recovered from most of his injuries in an instant? What kind of technique was that? He had never heard of it before. Damn it, this kid either has a peerless pill or a shocking recovery technique. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be so powerful. The Reverence Moon Elder's eyes were dark and incomparably bright. No matter what it was, he was extremely tempted, and his eyes were burning with passion. So far Lin Xian had shown too many tricks up his sleeves. Extreme movement techniques, super strong combat strength, and terrifying recovery ability. Every single one of them could set off a storm in the eastern wasteland. However, all these precious things were gathered in one person's hands. Moreover, it was a young man who was only a 2-star king. This was undoubtedly an opportunity for the Reverence Moon Elder. If he could kill Lin Xian, everything would be his. Kid, go to hell. The Reverence Moon Elder unleashed his techniques once again and charged towards Lin Xian. However, he quickly retreated again. The Reverence Moon Elder spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Lin Xian's combat strength had increased again? Especially that sword chi, it was too terrifying. It made him feel as if he was on the verge of death. Moreover, he was already covered in wounds from the battle until now. More importantly, the effects of his elixir were about to wear off. Soon his strength would return to normal. At that time he would definitely not be Lin Xian's opponent. Thinking of this, he went crazy again. He had no choice but to use that forbidden technique. Reverence Moon. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes were unusually ferocious. He sat cross-legged in the void and formed seals with his hands. Behind him a full moon quickly formed. An indescribable energy spread out and enveloped the entire mansion. Immediately, the Reverence Moon sect's disciples trembled and knelt on the ground. Unknowingly, a full moon had appeared in the sky. As for the disciples on the ground, they all knelt towards the sky. Furthermore, a peculiar energy floated out from their bodies and gathered in the full moon above. It was like a river flowing into the sea. In the sky, the blood-red moon became more and more terrifying. The Reverence Moon Elder's aura also grew stronger. However, the disciples kneeling on the ground were pale and their auras weakened. Some of them even fainted. There were also some whose muscles had withered and turned into skeletons. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and his expression was incomparably solemn. This strange scene caused him to be extremely shocked. The dark red divine dragon also appeared beside him and said in a low voice, "What a vicious cultivation technique. It should be a secret technique of the Reverence Moon sect. It absorbs other people's energy and uses a special secret technique for its own use. However, this kind of energy is too tyrannical. I'm afraid these Reverence Moon sect's disciples won't be able to survive." Indeed, without waiting for the dark red divine dragon to make a move, these disciples would have already lost most of their energy. They wouldn't be able to live for long. Chapter 16:18. 2 resplendent bolts of lightning shot out from the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes, piercing through the void palace. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder's strength had reached its peak. He stood up slowly and his sleeves fluttered, emitting terrifying energy. Countless rays of light fell around him. How terrifying! This energy is close to that of a 6-star king. The dark red dragon was shocked. Kid, retreat quickly. He pulled Lin Xian and retreated quickly. At the same time, a black hole appeared where they were originally standing. Terrifying flames turned into snakes that intertwined with each other. It was a terrifying sight. So powerful. Lin Xian's eyes widened. He didn't see anything at all. How did the Reverence Moon Elder make a move? That attack had almost killed them. What kind of secret technique is that? It's so terrifying. Lin Xian was shocked. It seemed like the Reverence Moon cult lived up to its name. The Reverence Moon cult's secret techniques were indeed endless. Kid, in order to kill you, I used a supreme secret technique and killed all the disciples of the Reverence Moon cult. Now you can go to hell. The Reverence Moon Elder's voice was cold, and it carried boundless killing intent. In the next moment he retracted his palm and the void trembled. A flaming palm appeared in the air, emitting a destructive aura. With a single slap, more than half of the manor collapsed. Lin Xian used the demigods to dodge the energy storm, and he kept retreating. However, he wasn't someone who was afraid. Hence, he roared and pushed the dragon sword domain to the limit. At this moment, boundless sword light shot into the sky, and he emitted a monstrous aura. He was like a god of war, unstoppable. So what if you used a secret technique? Today I will cut you down with my sword. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. You overestimate yourself. The Reverence Moon Elder, who had gained strength, smirked, revealing a disdainful smile. My current strength is comparable to a 6-star king. Killing you is as easy as killing a dog. As he spoke, he pointed his finger forward. Instantly, the void trembled and countless flames turned into a dragon that spiraled out. Boundless light surged and terrifying energy surged. It instantly pierced through the void and lit up the surrounding space. Most likely, no one below 6-star king realm would be able to stop him. However, something shocking happened. This time Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. With a snap of his fingers, he summoned the 1,000-beast cauldron and placed his palm on it. Suddenly, the sky was filled with black light and countless beasts roared. The 10,000-beast cauldron shone brightly as it rapidly expanded in the air. It was like a black demonic wall that stood in the void. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts fought over it. Many demonic beast images moved about continuously. Boom. The flaming dragon's finger collided with the 10,000-beast cauldron. Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The entire void boiled and a boundless sea of fire surged. However, even though this energy was terrifying, it was unable to penetrate the 1,000-beast cauldron, not to mention injuring Lin Xian. Or step treasure. The Reverence Moon Elder narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Soon after, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Brat, I have to say you're really full of surprises. Now, he had even brought out an Earth Step artifact. Very good, it's mine. As he spoke, he stretched out his palm and grabbed downwards without any hesitation. That palm was extremely terrifying. In the center of his palm, a red domain revolved rapidly, directly locking down the void. That was the Reverence Moon Elder's king domain. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He circulated his energy and poured it into the 1,000-beast cauldron. Suddenly, the 1,000-beast cauldron shone brightly. The sounds of the demonic beasts on it became even more real. Then, a huge claw stretched out from the 1,000-beast cauldron and slapped the void. This claw was incomparably black, like the claw of a demonic god. It was extremely terrifying and carried with it a shocking amount of energy. In the next moment, it slapped hard on the Reverence Moon Elder's palm. Boom. Energy exploded as the two clashed. Sparks flew in all directions. However, even though the 1,000-beast cauldron was strong, the Reverence Moon Elder was even more terrifying. He was like a god of war, and his palm carried the king domain. Therefore, under such a powerful force, the black palm was shattered. Kid, it's useless. Stop struggling. You're no match for me. The Reverence Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He waved his hand and grabbed at Lin Xian again. So strong. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect that even the 1,000-beast cauldron couldn't stop the Reverence Moon Elder. However, at this moment, the dark red dragon at the side let out a long roar. With a dragon's roar, the entire void exploded. Terrifying energy swept out, shaking the entire mansion. In the next moment, the sky collapsed. Then, the dark red dragon waved his dragon claws, forming a huge dragon claw and grabbing forward. Bang! The dark red dragon claw was like a mountain. It was extremely terrifying. In the next moment, it collided with the Reverence Moon Elder's palm. What? He blocked it? The Reverence Moon Elder was shocked. He felt that his palm was blocked and there was even a piercing pain. This made him very surprised. Impossible. How can he block my palm? He frowned. In the next moment, his eyes were like lightning as he stared at the dark red dragon. You are a dragon. The Reverence Moon Elder was shocked. He didn't expect the other party to be a dragon. It was no wonder that the other party had such a strong physique and could block his palm. The dark red dragon gritted his teeth. You dare to be so arrogant when I don't show my power? Take my Overlord Dragon Fist. The dark red dragon waved his other dragon claw, and a red fist appeared in the sky. The fist was filled with mysterious runes and it flew across the sky. Bang! In the sky, the Reverence Moon Elder's palm was knocked back. Damn it! The Reverence Moon Elder's face was hideous. He felt his entire palm go numb. The other party's strength was too terrifying. As expected of a dragon. Such strength is really strong. A trace of madness appeared in the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes. I wonder if I can increase my cultivation after drinking your dragon blood? At this moment he was like a demon staring at the dark red dragon. You dare to target me? The dark red dragon roared. Then he swung his tail and rushed forward to fight the Reverence Moon Elder. Shocking energy exploded as the two of them fought crazily. On the other side, Lin Xian didn't stay idle. He quickly formed seals with his palms and activated the Dragon Sword domain to the extreme. A deep dragon roar sounded, and then endless sword light shot into the sky. Lin Xian held the 9 Netherworld demonic sword in his hand, and energy exploded from his body. Moreover, the Dragon Sword domain kept compressing until it was completely attached to the 9 Netherworld demonic sword. Terrifying sword light shone in all directions. At this moment, the 9 Netherworld demonic sword was covered by the Dragon Sword domain, and it was extremely terrifying. Chapter 16-19. He was like a real demon god sword as he hovered in the air. With a light slash he could pierce a hole in space. Kill? With a loud roar, the 9 Nether Devil sword shone brightly like a black sun. Lin Xian swung his arm, and the 9 Nether Devil sword slashed down. What? At the same time, the Reverence Moon Elder, who was fighting the dark red divine dragon, widened his eyes. When he saw the giant black sword slashing down from the sky, he screamed. The sword was too terrifying and it made his scalp go numb. His heart thumped wildly. He knew that if he was hit by the sword, he wouldn't be able to escape alive. Damn it! How is this kid so strong? He couldn't believe it. How did Huang Xiaolong unleash such power? He had already surpassed him. Damn it! It's his king domain. The Reverence Moon Elder was shocked. He realized that there was a small king domain on the 9 Nether Devil sword. When he saw this, he didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly turned around and fled. He even wanted to break the seal and leave this place. However, the dark red divine dragon didn't give him a chance to escape. It continued to entangle him. In the end, the dark red divine dragon grew to 100 zhang long as it hovered in the air. Its huge body shone with divine light, and terrifying blood chi dyed the sky red. A vast and mighty pressure instantly froze the entire void. The Reverence Moon Elder went crazy as he tried to break the seal. However, he realized that his body was trapped in the void. He couldn't move at all. Boom. The 9 Nether Devil sword shrouded the Reverence Moon Elder with the Dragon Sword domain. Boom. 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 The void exploded, and endless sword lights shot out in all directions. The entire mansion was drowned. At this moment, even the void was riddled with holes. When everything returned to normal, the Reverence Moon Elder's heart was already pierced by thousands of arrows. He couldn't be more dead. When Lin Xian saw this, he heaved a sigh of relief. The dark red divine dragon also returned to its 1-meter-long form. The two of them landed on the ground and felt relieved. However, the two of them didn't dare to stay any longer. They quickly cleaned up the battlefield. The two of them took the Reverence Moon Elder's storage ring. Then, the two of them turned into a beam of light and left the mansion. When they returned to their residence, the two of them heaved a sigh of relief. Today's battle was truly too thrilling. The Reverence Moon Elder lived up to his reputation as an elder. He was much stronger than Tianhu and the others. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon were both extraordinary figures. Otherwise, they would not have been able to win today's battle. This was especially true for the Reverence Moon Elder's last move. He had directly seized the energy of others and turned it into his own. This greatly shocked Lin Xian. At the same time, it also let him know that any large sect had a strong foundation and endless secret skills. Therefore, in the future when encountering such a person, he must not let his guard down. The two of them sat down cross-legged and quickly healed their wounds. For the next few days the two of them did not go out. The entire ancient city of Hanyang was in shock. It was because someone had discovered that the Reverence Moon Mansion had been destroyed, and everyone inside had been killed. Even the Reverence Moon Elder was no exception. This discovery shook the entire ancient city of Hanyang. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. One had to know that the Reverence Moon cult was a large sect in the eastern wilderness. They were extremely powerful. Who would dare to make a move against them? But now it had actually happened and it was a success. These people immediately thought of Lin Xian. In the ancient city of Hanyang, only Lin Xian had a conflict with the Reverence Moon cult. Impossible, this is impossible. However, the experts quickly rejected this idea. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, it was impossible for him to kill the Reverence Moon Elder and the dozens of Reverence Moon disciples. This was not something a young man could do. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the entire mansion had been sealed and no one had been able to escape. During the battle, no one had even discovered it. This kind of method was heaven-defying. Therefore, they ruled out Lin Xian as a suspect. They even believed that it was the work of an almighty expert. Otherwise, even if other experts had made a move, they would not have been able to kill all of them. If the Reverence Moon Elder wanted to escape, other than almighty experts, no one would be able to stop him. Who did it? For a moment, everyone was speculating. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They did not dare to cause any more trouble for fear of being targeted by a mysterious expert. However, after some research, they guessed that it was most likely the work of an enemy of the Reverence Moon cult. If they wanted to blame someone, they could only blame the Reverence Moon cult for being too arrogant. They must have offended someone, and that was why they ended up like this. With the passage of time, this storm gradually passed. On the other side, after Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon killed the Reverence Moon Elder, they did not go out again. They went into seclusion and started cultivating. The previous battle had caused them to suffer heavy injuries. They needed to recover. Here they wanted to hide from the limelight and avoid being targeted. In the room, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. Resplendent light surrounded his body. At this moment, his injuries were completely healed. Not only that, but he was also cultivating a high-grade earth-rank martial art. Previously, he had cultivated the mid-grade earth-rank martial art, the myriad sword art, to major completion. Now he could condense the power of 9,000 swords. It was extremely terrifying. With a single strike, even a 5-star king would be forced back. The high-grade earth-rank martial art he was cultivating now was a kind of domain comprehension called the 6th divine sword art. As Lin Xian's cultivation increased, he became more familiar with the application of the king's domain. The king's domain was ever-changing. It was extremely powerful and mysterious. Previously, Lin Xian had only summoned it and used its power. Now he was going to take a deeper step. For example, the Reverence Moon Elder's King's Domain and Lin Xian's Dragon Sword Domain had been compressed and attached to the 9 Nether Devil Sword. They were all new applications. The 6th Divine Sword Art was also a kind of King's Domain cultivation technique. There were a total of 6 levels. Each level would condense a sword god in the domain to kill the enemy. Lin Xian was cultivating the first level, and the sword chi he condensed was red. Around him, the Dragon Sword Domain floated up and down. Inside it, streaks of red sword chi were running around at high speed, constantly combining to form sets of strange sword formations. Between the red sword chi, a red figure could be vaguely seen. However, it was very blurry and one could not see it clearly. However, the power it emitted was incomparably sharp. After a month of cultivation, Lin Xian finally reached minor completion of the first level. He could instantly condense 100,000 red sword chi to form various killing methods. This time he did not cultivate. Instead, he came out of seclusion. Chapter 1620. The Stone Gambling Conference was extremely important to him. Firstly, he needed to observe the young man named Hong Yu at the conference, in order to complete the sect's mission. Moreover, he also wanted to cut out some treasures and obtain the best quality subdivine crystals to improve his cultivation. In fact, he was not the only one. At this moment, all the warriors in the ancient city of Hanyang were excited. In the center of the ancient city of Hanyang, there was a huge palace. It was magnificent and exuded an aura of desolation. It was an ancient palace. Normally it was not open to the public. However, the ancient city of Hanyang had opened the sacred palace for this stone gambling conference. This time, the venue of the stone gambling conference was arranged here. All kinds of strange stones were placed in the palace. Some were simple, some were magnificent, and some were even shining. However, whether or not there were treasures inside would depend on each martial artist's own ability. When Lin Xian, the dark red divine dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei entered, they were stunned. They found that the inside of the sacred palace was magnificent and spacious. It was far from what it looked like from the outside. No wonder it's an ancient sacred palace. It's amazing. Fatty Luo exclaimed. I bet we'll return with a lot of treasures this time. Du Fei was also very excited. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked forward. He found that the palace was different from what he had imagined. It was very spacious and there were many small halls. The stones placed in each hall were actually different. Of course, the cost to enter was different. It was even said that one had to pay a high price to enter the innermost halls. Ordinary people did not have the money to do so. Almost everyone in the ancient city of Hanyang had come. Could be said that this was a golden age. However, Lin Xian and the others soon ran into trouble. Because there were a few people in the crowd who were walking towards them. There were not many of them. There were only 6 or 7 of them. One of them was a middle-aged man with a gloomy face and a terrifying aura. The aura did not spread out. It was directed at Lin Xian and the others. Immediately Lin Xian's face darkened. Although the aura was terrifying, it had no effect on him. However, he did not know the man. The man attacked him as soon as he came. Obviously he wanted to throw him out. This made him very unhappy. To the side, Fatty Luo also said in a low voice, Damn it, it's the Yunyan sect. Yunyan sect? Lin Xian frowned. He did not recognize this sect. They have a good relationship with the moon-worshipping cult. Previously you killed 2 of the moon-worshipping cult's candidate holy sons. Now the moon-worshipping elder has died in a bizarre manner. They will definitely target you. Du Fei explained. Fatty Luo was furious. Fuck. He dared to bully others with his aura? I think they don't want to live anymore. The surrounding cultivators naturally saw this scene as well, but they did not say anything, nor did anyone step forward to stop it. Instead, they were all whispering to each other. The law enforcement team did not come because this was not an obvious attack. This kind of method of using pressure to scare people had indeed escaped the rules of the law enforcement team. Hee kid with us here today, don't even think about entering the stone gambling convention. Humph. How dare you kill 2 candidate holy princes of the moon-worshipping cult. You're dead meat. I advise you to be obedient and wait for your punishment. The Yunyan sect's disciples sneered. The middle-aged man even snorted coldly, his eyes shining brightly. Don't worry with me here, this kid won't be able to enter. Fuck. You've gone too far. The dark red divine dragon gritted his teeth, itching to attack. Lin Xian held him down and shook his head slightly. The other party was obviously trying to provoke them to attack and attract the law enforcement team. However, Lin Xian obviously did not want to do that. If the law enforcement team was alerted, it would be difficult for him to enter the stone gambling convention today. He would not attack, but that did not mean he would let the other party go. Therefore, in the next moment, he turned to Fatty Luo and said, It's up to you. Fuck, this young master can't wait any longer. Fatty Luo took a step forward and pointed to the front. Yunyan sect, right? Get lost. How dare you block this young master's way, do you believe I won't cripple you? Du Fei sneered at the side. That's right, I bet you'll regret it soon. Where did this kid come from? How dare he tell us to get lost? Slap him. Otherwise you're dead meat. The martial artists of Yunyan sect shouted coldly and glared at him. They were here to bully him, but now they were being scolded? How could they tolerate that? More and more people gathered around and started discussing. In the crowd, the lunar saintess shook her head slightly. She knew who Fatty Luo and Du Fei were. This time, Yunyan sect was really going to be in trouble. In front, the middle-aged man also frowned and said coldly, Kid, get lost. Don't get in the way. Otherwise, if you anger me, you won't be able to walk out of Hanyang Ancient City. Oh, are you threatening me? I'm so scared. Fatty Luo sneered. Do you think this young master is scared? As he spoke, he took out a token. Look at what this is. If you dare to attack me, you'll have to bear the consequences. The silver token was very simple and unadorned. There was an ancient word on it and a large flag on the back that fluttered in the wind. This was the second time Fatty Luo had taken out his token. The first time he had scared Elder Baiwei away. This time he took it out again in the face of Yunyan sect's provocation. The crowd was also extremely puzzled. The majority of them did not know what the silver token represented. However, the lunar saintess looked serious. On the other side, the five-element saint also frowned. Opposite them, the martial artists of Yunyan sect sneered when they saw this. What, do you think you can save your lives by taking out a token? Let me tell you, if you dare to provoke Yunyan sect, you're dead meat. Those people sneered arrogantly. However, the middle-aged man suddenly turned his head and said coldly in a low voice, "Shut up, elder." The Yunyan sect disciples behind him trembled. They did not understand why their elder was angry. However, the middle-aged man did not pay attention to them. Instead, he stared at the silver token. Then he took a deep breath and asked through gritted teeth, "What's the relationship between Luo Badeo and you?" "Luo Badeo? Who's Luo Badeo?" Hearing this, many of the surrounding warriors were stunned, but soon after, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be Luo Badeo, one of the 10 great villains? When they thought of this, they were shocked and their scalps went numb. Now they finally knew why Elder Baiwei had turned and ran away that day. It was because of Luo Badeo's token. When the Yunyan sect disciples heard this, they also trembled. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. Fatty Luo said proudly, "That's my grandfather." "What, are you going to attack me now?" "What?" Chapter 16:21. They did not expect the kid in front of them to be Luo Badeo's grandson. At that moment, everyone looked at Fatty Luo with terrified expressions. Of course, they did not forget Du Fei because he was with Fatty Luo. At that moment, Fatty Luo grinned and pointed at Du Fei saying, "This is my brother. His grandfather is Du Tianxing." Indeed. Everyone was shocked. Du Tianxing was also one of the 10 villains. The martial artists from Yunyan sect were terrified, and the middle-aged man's face was gloomy. He did not expect that he would be in deep trouble this time. Not to mention him, even their sect master might not dare to touch these two people. His expression was uncertain. In the end, he gritted his teeth and cupped his fists. "Gentlemen, I'm sorry for offending you earlier. Please forgive me." After saying that, he dived into the crowd and left without looking back. The few disciples of the Yunyan sect were like stray dogs as they quickly followed behind. Everyone was shocked. The 10 villains were indeed ferocious and terrifying. Even the elders of Yunyan sect did not dare to provoke them. However, there was one person who was very confused. That was Lin Xian. He asked, "10 villains? What 10 villains? I'm going to faint." The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. They looked at Lin Xian as if they were looking at a monster. There was someone who did not know about the 10 villains? That was too strange. Could it be that this guy came from a mountain village? However, more people were speechless. You don't even know about the 10 villains and you dare to gather with these two little villains? How bold. However, Lin Xian soon learned about the legend of the 10 villains. They were definitely ferocious people. Each of them was extremely powerful and had monstrous combat strength. Moreover, these 10 people had no scruples. They did things as they pleased and did not follow any rules at all. They did not even care about any sect. As long as they wanted to, they would do it. Because of that, they even had conflicts with sacred grounds and clan of the ancients. However, until now they were all living well. One could imagine how terrifying these people were. Especially Luo Badeo, who had torn apart a mighty figure. He was extremely powerful. Fatty Luo was Luo Badeo's grandson. As long as he revealed his identity, not many people would dare to provoke him. I see. Lin Xian suddenly understood. The 10 villains were extremely powerful in the eastern wasteland. Naturally, no one dared to offend their descendants. "I didn't expect the two of you to have such identities," Lin Xian said with a smile. Fatty Luo scratched his head. "It can't be helped. Our identities are too sensitive. Most people don't want to play with us. It wasn't easy to find Brother Lin. We don't want to scare you away. Brother Lin, you won't run away in fear, right?" On the other side, Du Fei also asked. "You were really shocked, but why did you run away?" Lin Xian patted them on the shoulder. "We're friends." "Yes, we are friends. We're brothers." Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Then the group of people walked forward. Instantly, the crowd automatically dispersed. What a joke, who would dare to block the way now? However, what surprised everyone was that there really was someone who dared to block their way. Of course, they weren't ordinary martial artists. Ordinary martial artists didn't dare to offend the 10 villains at all. However, the people in front of them didn't seem to have much scruples. "You're Lin Xian?" A young man in a thunder robe asked with a smile. "That's right." Lin Xian nodded. "You are?" "I'm the Saint of the Thousand Thunders sect. These are my friends," the young man in the thunder robe said slowly. "The Thousand Thunders Saint?" Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Thousand Thunders sect to participate. On the side, Fatty Luo also transmitted his voice. "Be careful. The Thousand Thunder sect has clashed with the 10 villains before, so they definitely don't have good intentions." Lin Xian was also surprised. The Thousand Thunder sect had clashed with the 10 villains before. No wonder they dared to block the way here. Therefore he asked coldly, "May I know why you're blocking the way?" "Not really," the Thousand Thunder Saint said with a smile. "I heard you're also a Seeker Spirit Master?" "What? Do you want my brother to go stone gambling for you?" Fatty Luo frowned. "Stone gambling? Use him? Who does he think he is? Is he worthy of stone gambling for the Thousand Thunder Saint?" At this moment, a young man in a red robe beside the Thousand Thunder Saint snorted disdainfully. "What did you say?" Du Fei was also unhappy. How dare the other party provoke him like this? I mean, what ability does he have? He's just lucky to cut out 2 stones. Do you really think he's a Seeker Spirit Master? Ridiculous. He's not a Seeker Spirit Master? Are you? The dark red dragon also snorted. The other party obviously had an expression that deserved a beating. "Of course I am," the red-robed young man said proudly. Then he looked down at Lin Xian. "Boy, do you dare to bet with me? I'll expose you in front of everyone." "Bet?" Lin Xian frowned. "Yes, bet. We'll choose stones on the spot and see who can cut the treasure better," the red-robed young man said coldly. "What? You don't dare? Why not?" Lin Xian snorted. Since the other party dared to provoke him, how could he not take action? Moreover, he was very confident in his martial Dao Heavenly Eye. "What? Stone gambling?" Hearing this, the surrounding people were also alarmed, and they all gathered over. This was a stone gambling convention. Stone gambling between Seeker Spirit Masters was a common occurrence. However, the people who were participating in the stone gambling this time made them even more excited. One was Lin Xian, who was now very popular in the ancient city of Hanyang. The other person was invited by the Thousand Thunder Saint, who was presumably not weak. "Isn't he from the Tuoba family?" In the crowd, a genius exclaimed. "What? He's from the Tuoba family?" For a moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the red-robed young man. Obviously they were very surprised. They did not expect the other party to be from the Tuoba family. The red-robed young man snorted and raised his chin proudly. At this time, the Thousand Thunder Saint explained with a smile. "That's right. He's the young genius of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Yi. He really is from the Tuoba family." Hearing the Thousand Thunder Saint's explanation, the surrounding people were even more shocked. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's faces also darkened. They quickly said, "Brother Lin, be careful. The Tuoba family is an ancient family of Seeker Spirit Masters. Although they are arrogant, they do have means. You must be careful during the stone gambling. A family of Seeker Spirit Masters." Lin Xian was also surprised. Then he smiled and said, "Let's see what kind of means a family of Seeker Spirit Masters has." How could it make everyone so shocked? "What an idiot. How dare you bet with me? Boy, you'll regret it soon." Tuoba Yi sneered. Chapter 1622. Cut the crap. "Since it is stone gambling, what are you betting on?" Du Fei asked coldly. He was a gambling addict and naturally had to pay attention to this area. Tuoba Yi looked around and sneered, "This is only the outermost stone gambling area. There shouldn't be any strange stones that are too big. How about this? Let's bet 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. How about that? If we bet too much, I'm afraid you won't be able to afford it." Tuoba Yi's face was filled with pride as he spoke. "All right." Lin Xian nodded without any hesitation. 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. A casual bet? The surrounding martial artists were speechless. They might not even have 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. But now, the two of them were casually betting and had taken out so much. Perhaps only a Seeker Spirit Master would dare to be so generous. "Very well, kid. I will let you know what a true Seeker Spirit Master is." Tuoba Yi snorted and waved his hand, taking out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. Lin Xian didn't hesitate and threw out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals as well. Instantly the surrounding crowd got excited. It seemed like the two of them were really going against each other and there had to be a victor. This duel was undoubtedly an exciting match for the crowd. At the front, after Tuoba Yi threw out the subdivine crystals, he started to walk forward slowly. He wanted to pick a strange stone to defeat Lin Xian. Lin Xian didn't move. His eyes flickered as he executed his martial Dao Heavenly Eye and quickly scanned the front. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was extremely deep as it flickered with strange runes. It was able to see through everything. Soon Lin Xian curled his lips into a smile as he locked onto his target. He waved his hand and a stone floated towards him. That stone was as tall as a human. It was grayish-brown in color and looked simple and unadorned. If it wasn't placed here, no one would take a second look at it. Tuoba Yi sneered when he saw Lin Xian picking the stone so quickly. At the same time, his eyes flickered with purple radiance as he quickly scanned the front. Soon he picked a stone that was flickering with radiance. It was 2 meters tall and was extremely tall. "Kid, you are definitely going to lose this time." Tuoba Yi sneered. "Lose my ass. We haven't even cut it open yet. How do you know we'll lose?" Fatty Luo snorted coldly. He was extremely displeased. "That's right, I dare to bet that the loser this time will definitely be you." Du Feng also shouted coldly. "You still dare to be stubborn when you're about to die? Very well, I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly." Tuoba Yi didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and took out a black dagger before cutting the rock rapidly. The black dagger flickered with black light, and there were many complicated inscriptions carved on it. Not only that, but it was also sharp. His technique was very special, dazzling the eyes, making it impossible for others to see clearly. However, the 2-meter-tall strange stone began to shatter into pieces and gradually become smaller. This stone-cutting technique was a unique skill of the Tuoba family. Outsiders were unable to learn it and could only express their envy. Soon the surrounding crowd exclaimed. That was because when he was halfway through cutting the stone, a dazzling light suddenly burst out from the stone. It was like a rosy sunset that illuminated the surroundings. Treasure, there really is a treasure. Everyone was shocked. As expected of the Tuoba family's prodigy. He's really impressive. Exclamations sounded one after another. Then, everyone discovered that a millstone-sized subdivine crystal had appeared in the 2-meter-tall stone. Moreover, it was a superior subdivine crystal. It looks like it should be more than 200 kilograms. That's right, and it's many subdivine crystals. This was only the outermost area, so there shouldn't be anything good. It was already considered very good if an ordinary Seeker Spirit Master could cut out a 5-kilogram piece. Now that 200 kilograms had appeared, Tuoba Yi was definitely an exceptional prodigy. It seemed like that kid was going to lose for sure. There was no other way. Tuoba Yi was a prodigy of the Tuoba family, and no one else could compare to him. Perhaps only the Lu family's people could contend with him. Exclamations sounded one after another. Clearly they were all praising the Tuoba family, and no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. "A bunch of bastards, what nonsense are you talking about? My brother hasn't cut it yet, how do you know he'll lose?" Fatty Luo was unhappy. Du Fei also said, "That's right, I dare to bet that my brother Lin will be able to cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal." "Supreme-grade subdivine crystal? Are you a cabbage?" Tuoba Yi sneered. "Kid, it's still not too late to admit defeat. You'll only lose a mere 50 kilograms of subdivine crystal. However, if the rock you are going to cut open doesn't have anything, you won't just lose this little bit of subdivine crystal. I'm afraid you won't have the face to stay here in the future." Lin Xian heard and sneered with disdain. "You are the one who won't have the face to stay here. Soon you will know." After speaking, he didn't say anything else. He used his finger like a knife and cut the rock beside him. His method was very bold as he cut it in half. What? He cut it in the middle? This kid doesn't want his life anymore. Damn, he is too bold. If there was any treasure, wouldn't it be destroyed by him? Everyone exclaimed and couldn't believe it. Tuoba Ye's eyelids twitched before he sneered. He is indeed an idiotic kid. How can he cut it so quickly? I can tell he isn't a Seeker Spirit Master. Lin Xian didn't bother and cut it in the middle. However, after cutting it open, nothing appeared. There wasn't any radiance. Everyone sighed while Tuoba Yi sneered. Kid, don't waste your effort. There isn't anything. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and threw the upper half of the rock to the side. He then stared at the lower half of the rock and waved his finger again. Sigh, it's useless. Normally, treasures would be in the center of the rock. If there isn't any treasure in the center, there must be nothing left. I heard that this Lin Xian had cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal and thought he was an incredible seeker spirit master. Now it seems like he was just lucky. Yeah, no one dares to be arrogant in front of Tuoba Yi. This Lin Xian is no exception. He will definitely be defeated. Everyone was discussing while shaking their heads and sighing. But at the next moment they all shut up. Not only so, but they also widened their eyes as though they had seen a ghost. Because Lin Xian's fingertips suddenly burst out with boundless radiance. It wasn't released by Lin Xian, but by the rock under his feet. Treasure, there is actually a treasure. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. What? How is this possible? Tuoba Ye's expression changed as his eyes turned extremely gloomy. He didn't expect that Lin Xian could really cut out a treasure. Moreover, what made him feel even worse was that the radiance from Lin Xian seemed to be more intense than his previous radiance. The surrounding crowd also noticed this and exclaimed in surprise. This radiance is so powerful. It is much stronger than the previous one. Could it be some rare treasure? It can't be. This Lin Xian's luck is actually so good? Chapter 1623. Hearing this, everyone went silent. It was impossible for his luck to be so good all the time. This Lin Xian could continuously cut out treasures, which was definitely due to his own strength. Lin Xian must be an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. On the other side, the myriad thunder saint had a gloomy expression. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to cut out treasures. Tuoba Yi clenched his teeth and said, "Don't worry. The radiance might be strong, but it doesn't mean that there are treasures. Such things happened in the past. The radiance was very strong, but it was just a waste after being cut out. Therefore, no one knows who will win until the last point in stone gambling." To be honest, he still had hope in his heart. But at the next moment, his expression changed drastically as his heart sank into a bottomless pit. There was a fist-sized crystal in the stone in front. Divine radiance flickered and circulated with vigorous energy. Supreme-grade subgod crystal. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. The myriad thunder saint had an awful expression while Tuoba Ye's face was ashen. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out a supreme-grade subgod crystal, and it was the size of a fist. The value was far beyond what he had cut out. Damn it. Impossible. I have already checked. There is nothing in this stone. How can there be a supreme-grade subgod crystal? Tuoba Yi seemed to be in a frenzy as he constantly roared. Indeed, he had already checked earlier and didn't find any abnormalities in Lin Xian's stone. Therefore he was so disdainful and thought that Lin Xian was bound to lose. But now things had exceeded his expectations. Lin Xian didn't just cut out treasures, but it was also a supreme-grade subgod crystal that was far superior to what he had cut out. He couldn't accept it. Seeing the frenzied Tuoba Yi, everyone had a weird expression. The myriad thunder saint had a gloomy expression as he snorted and turned to leave. He had lost a lot of face today, and he was afraid that everyone would ridicule him later on. He wasn't willing to accompany Tuoba Yi and be ridiculed by others. Tuoba Yi didn't know that the myriad thunder saint had left. He was currently staring at Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered and said, "What standards do you have? Have you checked for treasures? Are there really no treasures?" "That's right, a piece of trash dares to compete with Brother Lin in stone gambling? You're courting death." Fatty Luo was extremely excited at the moment. Of course he was going to strike mercilessly. On the side, Du Fei didn't let him off either. "Stop struggling. You've already lost. Hurry up and hand over 50 kilograms of subdivinity crystals and get lost." They were truly overjoyed because Tuoba Yi was too arrogant and didn't even put them in his eyes. Now that they could viciously strike down the other party's arrogance, they were naturally happy. "Brat, just you wait. This isn't over yet." Tuoba Ye's expression was abnormally ugly, but he didn't dare to stay here any longer. This was because the complicated gazes of the surrounding martial artists were like thorns that pierced his heart. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Therefore he snorted coldly and hurriedly fled. Ah! Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the dark red divine dragon all burst out laughing when they saw the fleeing figure. Venting, this was too venting. In the future, who would dare to look down on them? The corners of Lin Xian's mouth also curled up slightly, but he did not let his guard down. He knew that Tuoba Yi was only a disciple of the Tuoba family. For the Tuoba family to have such a great reputation and be revered by everyone, there must be something unique and formidable about them. Therefore he had to be careful when he encountered the Tuoba family in the future. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian kept the supreme-grade subdivinity crystals. However, he gave the 100 subdivinity crystals to Fatty Luo and Du Fei. The two of them instantly beamed with joy. They might have special identities and didn't lack subdivinity crystals, but how could it be compared to the spoils of war? This feeling was simply too wonderful. Brother Lin, let's go inside and take a look. The outside is filled with ordinary stones. The inside is where the truly mystical stones are. This time we must cut out even better treasures. Let's see if we can cut out an ancient treasure. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's eyes lit up. The dark red divine dragon was also excited. Haha, if we can cut out an ancient treasure, that would be great. Hearing that, Lin Xian rolled his eyes. These three fellows were too imaginative. They probably wouldn't even be able to see such a thing. However, he still followed the crowd and walked inside. This stone gambling convention was rare. Since he was here, he naturally wouldn't return empty-handed. In the following period of time, Lin Xian frequently took action and naturally obtained a great harvest. Not only him, but Fatty Luo, the dark red divine dragon, and Du Fei also obtained treasures. Lin Xian's reputation quickly spread in the sacred hall. However, it wasn't just him. There were also many powerful seeker spirit masters who came to the stone gambling convention. In front, Lin Xian saw an especially powerful seeker spirit master. He was familiar with that person. It was the middle-aged man who set up the stall on the street. Lin Xian knew that he was the Lu family's seeker spirit master. Even the dark red divine dragon, Du Fei and Fatty Luo at the side were watching carefully. It couldn't be helped. The Lu family's seeker spirit masters were very famous, even more so than the Tuoba family. In front of them, the middle-aged man surnamed Lu walked slowly. In his eyes, a strange light bloomed. His eyeballs rapidly faded until they became pure white. Even his pupils seemed to have disappeared. The pure white eyes were very strange. They bloomed with a terrifying light, forming a radiance that quickly enveloped the stone in front of him. Soon, the middle-aged man waved his hand and a 3-foot-long stone floated to his side. The stone was very old. It was covered with moss and even rusted in some places. It seemed that it had been exposed to wind and rain for countless years. The surrounding crowd also cried out in surprise. This stone is the sacred hall's precious stone. I didn't expect it to be cut at this moment. Yes, this stone is very expensive. It's probably worth 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals. Ordinary seeker spirit masters wouldn't dare to buy it. 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals? Even a powerful figure would feel the pinch. If it can't be cut out, I'm afraid it'll be a loss. I'm afraid that only a family like the Lu family would dare to cut such a strange stone. The middle-aged man's actions caused a stir in the crowd. Even a group of elders came from the depths of the hall to watch. These people were very old. They were all more than 3,000 years old. Each of them was like a living fossil. However, at this moment, these elders seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Their eyes bloomed with a fiery light. Their gazes were so terrifying that even Lin Xian felt his blood boil. It was as if it had been ignited. How terrifying. Who are these people? Chapter 1624. The dark red divine dragon shrunk his head. Although he was arrogant as a dragon, he did not dare to be arrogant in front of these living fossils. Even Fatty Luo and Du Fei had grave expressions on their faces. Although the Stone Gambling Conference is held in Hanyang Ancient City, the forces behind it are the remote antiquity families and the peerless Holy Lands. These seniors are most likely from the Holy Lands and the remote antiquity families. Of course, there are also talents from other places. That's right. Du Fei nodded. The Eastern Wilderness is too big. It's boundless with billions of living creatures. It's nothing strange for some special people to appear. It's indeed terrifying. Lin Xian was shocked. His expression was solemn. He realized that the Reverence Moon Elder he had killed was nothing more than an ant in front of this group of old men. At the same time, the front became lively. The middle-aged man from the Lu family was finally going to cut the stone. The Lu family's stone-cutting technique was even more mysterious. Not long after, the strange stone became very small. The middle-aged man's speed also slowed down. The reason for that was because he had arrived at the most crucial location. The people around him held their breaths and watched carefully, afraid to disturb him. As the knife cut, the stone fell and a bright light shone. Whoosh! Everyone exclaimed. There is indeed a treasure. I just don't know how precious it is. They did not know yet, so they could only watch patiently. As more and more stones fell, the light became brighter and brighter. It was like a sun. When the last stone fell, the hall was completely illuminated by the bright light. The powerful energy was like a tidal wave, rapidly sweeping across the area. At that moment, everyone was stupefied. Even those of the older generation that were comparable to living fossils were dumbstruck. In the next moment, their eyes shone brightly and they even trembled. Their withered faces shone with a strange luster as the divine light shone on them. Divine crystal. It's a divine crystal, one of the living fossils exclaimed. Then everyone else exclaimed in shock. Divine crystals were rare treasures. They were as big as a fist. They were definitely priceless. The middle-aged man wiped the sweat off his forehead and let out a sigh of relief. Obviously, he had used up a lot of energy. However, he was very satisfied with this result. If he could cut out a piece of divine crystal, it would definitely shock the world. Lin Xin was also extremely surprised. The divine crystal was a true treasure. He had only seen one piece of it in Feng Mountain. Moreover, that piece of land had already caused the five almighties to fight over it. However, she still managed to escape in the end. The piece that had just been cut out was not as big as the previous one, but it was definitely a shocking treasure. This was because the surrounding talking stones had already stepped forward to negotiate with the middle-aged man. Obviously, they wanted to buy the divine crystal. As expected of someone from the Liu family. He was so powerful that he could cut out a divine crystal here. Fatty Luo exclaimed in surprise. Meanwhile, the dark red divine dragon kept tugging at Lin Xian. Brat, why don't you cut it up and see if you can get a divine crystal? He was simply too excited. When he saw the divine crystal being cut out, he was already drooling. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many living fossils in front of it, the dark red dragon god would have gone ahead to snatch it. Fuck, do you think that's cabbage? How could he just cut it off like that? The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched slightly. This thing required luck. Let's wait and see. Lin Xian was not encouraged by the dark red divine dragon. At least he did not immediately make a move. Next, they set off again to look at all kinds of stones. Lin Xian was very envious of a few of them. He wanted to cut them open to take a look. However, when he saw the price, he immediately shook his head and gave up. He had no choice. The price was too shocking. It could be said to be a sky-high price. He could not afford it at all now. Moreover, after observing along the way, he found that only a few people could cut out treasures. Many other seeker spiritual masters also failed. Even if they cut out treasures, they would lose money. Therefore, the ones who made the most money were the remote antiquity families and the almighty sacred grounds behind the stone gambling convention. They really know how to do business. Lin Xian shook his head. The stone gambling convention was definitely profitable. Of course, that was not necessarily the case. If a peerless master really cut out a diluted treasure, the remote antiquity families and the sacred grounds would definitely cry. However, such a situation was very rare. They chatted as they walked. Soon they saw an annoying person. Tuoba Yi. Yo, who is this? Isn't he the genius of the Tuoba family? Didn't he lose to us previously? How dare he show himself now? Fatty Luo sneered. Du Fei also snorted. If I were you, I would be too ashamed to stay here. I have to say that you are really thick-skinned. The dark red divine dragon laughed heartily. Kid, are you here to give us treasures again? Hearing their mockery, Tuoba Ye's face instantly turned black. If it were not for the fact that he could not fight here, he would have pounced and fought with them. However, he still held it in. He sneered, don't be too smug. I have already invited the experts of my family. Kid, aren't you arrogant? How dare you disregard our Tuoba family? Do you dare to have another round today? I will definitely let you know the consequences of provoking our Tuoba family. Not interested. Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders and turned to leave. He had no interest in being entangled with someone like Tuoba Yi, because it was purely a waste of time. Tuoba Yi was enraged because he didn't expect his provocation to be ineffective. Lin Xian didn't even bother about him. This made him feel as though he had punched cotton. At this moment, an aged voice echoed from behind. Kid, you want to leave after winning against our Tuoba family? It isn't that easy to leave. This voice contained a trace of chilliness that sent chills down everyone's spine. In front, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and frowned. Although he didn't turn back, he could feel a strange gaze locking onto him from behind with his outstanding soul spirit power. That gaze contained a mysterious energy that made him extremely uncomfortable. It was obvious that this was a very powerful eye technique. Expert. Lin Xian was shocked, but he still turned around. As expected, the crowd behind him dispersed, and an old man holding a dragon-headed cane slowly walked out. He was wearing a long white robe that had a piccio embroidered on it with golden thread. His hair was white, and his skin was dry like the skin of a sun-dried orange. This old man was very old, but his eyes were extremely deep like the starry sky. Seeing this kind of senior figure walking over, the surrounding warriors also looked over one after another. Then they were all extremely shocked. Chapter 1625. What? Tuoba Yulong. It's actually him. Someone of the older generation exclaimed in the crowd. Evidently they recognized the old man in front of them. Tuoba Yulong was an elder of the Tuoba family and had terrifying strength. It was rumored that his spirit-seeking technique was very powerful and he had obtained divine crystals many times. He was definitely a terrifying spirit-seeking master. What? So terrifying. The surrounding warriors were also shocked. They hadn't expected this elder to have such a powerful background. Putting aside the fact that he was an elder of the Tuoba family, just the fact that he had obtained divine sources many times was enough to shock the world. Even if he wasn't a member of the Tuoba family, he would probably be treated as a guest of honor by the various major factions. At this moment even Lin Xian, the dark red divine dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei had solemn expressions. It was obvious that the other party was a true expert and wasn't someone a brat like Tuoba Yi could compare to. Tuoba Yi revealed a sinister smile, his eyes filled with pride. How is it, brat? Are you afraid? Offending the Tuoba family is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. Hearing that, everyone fell silent. They hadn't expected Tuoba Yi to find an old monster. However, what was even more shocking was that there were two young men standing beside Tuoba Yulong. One was the Thousand Lightning Saint, who was wearing a lightning robe, while the other was wearing a long green robe and was surrounded by a resplendent green light. Unfettered Saint. Everyone was shocked again. They hadn't expected the unfettered sect to come as well. The two great sages' sons stood beside Tuoba Yulong and supported him like juniors. Such a scene was hard to imagine. Young man, if you don't gamble with me today, you won't be able to leave. Tuoba Yulong's voice was old and a little low. However, his voice was filled with boundless power. No one is allowed to casually bully our Tuoba family. Since you've defeated Yi, you have to fight with me. I'll let you know the true strength of the Tuoba family. They had seen Sir Lin's methods before, but they hadn't had enough fun. How about another gamble? The Myriad Thunder Saint said with a smile. Although he was smiling, his eyes were somewhat gloomy. Lin Xian's victory had made him lose face. After all, Tuoba Yi was brought here by him. If Tuoba Yi was defeated, he naturally wouldn't feel good. He originally thought that he didn't have the chance to defeat Lin Xian, but he didn't expect Tuoba Yi to actually call for the clan's elders. This was an excellent opportunity. On the other side, the unfettered saint did not speak, but there was an unquestionable aura around him. In fact, the crowd even felt that the entire space had solidified. It looked like if Lin Xian didn't make a move, the other party really wouldn't let them go. Brat, what should we do? Are you going to make a move? The dark red divine dragon asked through voice transmission. On the other side, Fatty Luo and Du Fei also said, Brother Lin, if you don't want to compete, we'll take you away. Don't worry. With us here, they definitely won't dare to do anything to you. The two of them were very confident. After all, the reputation of the 10 great villains wasn't just for show. Lin Xian thought for a moment, then the corners of his mouth curled up. No worries. Since they want to compete, I'll bet with them. What? The crowd couldn't believe their ears. Lin Xian still wanted to compete? This time it was the Tuoba family's elder, Tuoba Yulong. He was an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. However, Lin Xian still wanted to compete. Was he really confident? Or was he just showing off? The crowd didn't know. They guessed that it was more likely the latter. After all, no one believed that Lin Xian could defeat a powerful elder like Tuoba Yulong. On the opposite side, Tuoba Yi, the Myriad Thunder Saint, and the others all laughed when they heard this. They laughed maniacally. Haha kid, I have to say that you're really too stupid. This time you'll definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Tuoba Yi was very excited. He couldn't wait to see the scene of Lin Xian's defeat. Tuoba Yulong's orange peel-like face also revealed a strange smile. At the same time, his gaze, which was faintly purple, fell on Lin Xian. It seemed that he wanted to see through or discover Lin Xian's secret. Because in his opinion, Lin Xian must have some tricks up his sleeve to be able to defeat Tuoba Yi. Moreover, he really wanted to know what kind of background Lin Xian had for him to agree to compete with him. Sensing the other party's gaze, Lin Xian snorted coldly. Countless sword chi emerged from his body and instantly surrounded him. At the same time he said coldly, "Senior, aren't you going overboard by investigating me so brazenly?" On the opposite side, Tuoba Yulong narrowed his eyes. To be honest, it wasn't surprising that Lin Xian discovered his investigation. What surprised him was that he couldn't find any information. Lin Xian's sword chi was very strange. It actually blocked his gaze. This was the first time such a thing had happened. However, he didn't care. He snorted coldly. "Kid, it's useless to say more. Let's start the battle now. The stones here are too ordinary. Why don't we go deeper?" Tuoba Yulong said indifferently. "As you wish." Lin Xian didn't refuse. He wanted to see what tricks Lin Xian had up his sleeve. Then, Tuoba Yulong quickly walked deeper into the sacred palace with the help of the Thousand Thunders Saint Sun and Unfettered Saint Sun. The rest of the people also followed and walked quickly. This was definitely going to be an earth-shattering battle. One was a young genius, the other was an elder. It was definitely going to be an earth-shattering gamble. However, Du Fei, Fatty Luo and the others asked telepathically, "Brother Lin, are you confident?" "He's an old monster." "At least 50%, Lin Xian replied. Indeed, although Tuoba Yulong's eye technique was powerful, Lin Xian was very confident in his martial path Heavenly Eye. The martial path Heavenly Eye was one of the peerless theurgies in the eastern wilderness. Very few people could master it. Not only had Lin Xian mastered it, but he'd also reached a certain level. He was at least 50% confident that he could defeat Tuoba Yulong. Great. In that case, let's take down that old monster's arrogance. The dark red dragon and the others nodded. Then they quickly followed Lin Xian into the depths of the sacred palace. The sacred palace was divided into 10 areas. The deeper one went, the more precious the stones were. Of course, the more expensive they were. Just the entrance fee alone was enough to make everyone's heart ache. However, in order to see the prosperity of stone gambling, they all gritted their teeth and bought tickets to watch the battle. The 7th area. The originally empty area was filled with people. There were even some elders who were like living fossils who had come to watch the battle. Lin Xian naturally came with the others. He looked around and found that there were many strange stones around. Chapter 1626. Lin Xian naturally followed the crowd here. He glanced around and found that there were many strange stones placed around him. Any one of them was far superior to the ones before. As expected of the 7th region. It's strong. Lin Xian was surprised. He only glanced around and found several of the stones contained treasures. However, he didn't act rashly. He knew that the other party must be a very powerful spirit master who knew some powerful spirit-seeking techniques that could interfere with his heavenly eye. As expected, other spirit masters in the crowd seemed to have found treasures and immediately bought a stone at a high price. However, when he cut it open he found that it was empty. There were no treasures at all. Immediately, the spirit master who bought the stone spat out blood and fainted. The other spirit masters' expressions changed drastically as they looked at Tuoba Yulong in horror. They knew that Tuoba Yulong must have used a powerful spirit-seeking technique to hide the true appearance of these stones. That was why the spirit master had misjudged them. So strong. Tuoba Yulong is indeed an elder of the Tuoba family. His methods are extraordinary. This should be an illusion technique. With him here, the other spirit masters won't be able to find any treasures. Even Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. As expected, the other party's methods were powerful enough to interfere with other spirit masters. However, he had the heavenly eye and could see through everything. The other party couldn't interfere with him. While the crowd was discussing, Tuoba Yulong had already stepped forward to select a stone. Lin Xian also used his heavenly eye. His eyes flashed with strange runes as he looked forward. However, his expression changed in the next moment. This was because Tuoba Yulong's dragon-head walking stick shook slightly and the surrounding rocks flew towards Lin Xian. "What's going on?" Everyone exclaimed, not understanding what was going on. Lin Xian's expression darkened as he snorted inwardly. "Damn old man, you dare to play tricks with me?" If he broke one of the stones that flew towards him, he would lose. Because that would be equivalent to him cutting open a rock and not being able to cut it again. Therefore he could not touch a single one of these stones. Although the other party's methods were strong, Lin Xian's methods were not weak either. With a cold snort, a bright light bloomed around his body. A green domain instantly appeared and covered all the stones. Moreover, they bounced back at an even faster speed. Not only that, Lin Xian did not damage these stones at all. Soon, the stones in the sky flew forward like shooting stars. He arrived before Tuoba Yulong in an instant. Not only that, but these stones also rapidly rotated, forming a strange formation, trapping Tuoba Yulong there. If you want to play tricks with me, I'll play with you. Lin Xian smirked, and the runes in his eyes shone even brighter. Whoosh! The surrounding people exclaimed. They had never seen such a method before. The Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked. All of them widened their eyes, unwilling to let go of any detail. Ahead, Tuoba Yulong's face sank. He didn't expect that the other party's method would be so powerful as to be able to break his spirit-seeking technique in an instant. Not only that, but the other party also backhanded him. Although the array formation around him wasn't of much use to him, it wasn't very effective. However, the other party's counterattack and forceful attitude made him very unhappy. As an elder of the Tuoba family and an extremely powerful Seeker Spirit Master, he was very famous in the Eastern Wilderness. Now, a brat actually dared to attack him? He couldn't accept it. With a cold snort, he waved the dragon-headed cane in his hand again. The cane emitted a strange energy. Instantly, the stones in the sky seemed to be controlled by this energy and returned to their original places meekly. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. However, the surrounding people were not calm. Lin Xian and Tuoba Yulong's methods were too shocking. They were in awe. Seeing that the other party had easily broken free of the stone formation, Lin Xian was also slightly surprised. After a while, he stopped paying attention. Instead, he used his martial Dao Heavenly Eye to look at the surrounding stones. No matter what he did now, it would be futile. Only by ruthlessly defeating the other party in stone gambling could he extinguish the other party's arrogance. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was very mysterious. In Lin Xian's eyes, there were many mysterious runes. Soon after, Lin Xian's gaze swept across most of the strange stones. In the end, he fixed his eyes on one of them. That rock was only the size of a millstone. It was covered in moss. Furthermore, from its appearance, it resembled a lying tortoise from afar. This is it. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. Countless runes flickered. He waved his hand and called the green tortoise stone to his side. It's the Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone. Seeing the stone Lin Xian chose, the crowd exclaimed. This stone is one of the most expensive stones in the 7th district. The price is at least 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals. Even the eyes of the living fossils of the old people were shining. They were all excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. I had my eyes on this stone previously, but I couldn't bear to cut it open. This time, someone is finally going to cut it open. Yeah, this stone was transported here and has been here for more than a decade. No one has dared to touch it. I didn't expect this young man called Lin Xian to be so bold as to dare to touch this Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone. Many of the older generation were discussing while the surrounding martialists were shocked. They didn't expect this stone to have such an origin. Even the living fossils were interested in it. However, they didn't dare to act rashly because it was too valuable. The Myriad Thunder Saint and the Unfettered Saint frowned when they saw the stone that the other party had chosen. They didn't expect the Lin Xian to be so bold. The Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone was known as one of the most important stones. There was naturally a reason for it. Perhaps it really contained some unique treasure. Therefore, the two saints were a little worried. Tuoba Yi sneered and said, "You are overestimating yourself. How dare you choose the Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone? However, that requires 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals. Do you have that much money? If you can't take out the money and can't cut anything good, that would be a joke." Hearing this, everyone's heart skipped a beat. This was indeed a problem. Looking at Lin Xian, he didn't seem to be a disciple of a major sect. It wasn't certain if he could buy this Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone. I don't have that many divine crystals. Lin Xian shrugged and admitted. What? No? Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. Chapter 1627. Humph! How dare you cut this divine stone without money? I think you don't know your limits. Tuoba Yi sneered. He knew that behind this event stood the shadows of the clan of the ancients and the unparalleled sacred grounds. Even the Tuoba family didn't dare to offend such powerful entities. Yet, this kid wanted to gain something without risking anything? How could there be such a good deal? Lin Xian sneered. I don't have that many divine crystals, but that doesn't mean I can't cut this stone. Finishing his statement, he ignored Tuoba Yi and turned to speak to Fatty Luo. Brother Luo, lend me some money. No problem. Fatty Luo laughed, then took out the silver token. I don't have that much money either, but you should be familiar with this token. Take it and ask my grandfather for it. I'm sure you'll be able to get it. Everyone's eyelids twitched when they saw the token. This command medallion had frightened many people. It was definitely a terrifying item. However, more people's mouths twitched. Asking the 10 great villains for money? Why did this sound so unreliable? However, an old fossil in the crowd said, sure, no problem. But you have to leave this token here first. Okay. Fatty Luo shrugged indifferently, then gave the silver token to the old man who was like a living fossil. Everyone fell silent when they saw this. It seemed that the person behind this stone gambling event had allowed Lin Xian to cut the stone. Tuoba Yi sneered. They thought that Lin Xian would really be able to get the qualifications, which made him very unhappy. Then he sneered. Let's see how you'll die this time. He didn't believe that Lin Xian could defeat his family's elder. While Lin Xian was dealing with this matter. On the other side, Tuoba Yulong had also chosen a strange stone. The stone he chose was even more peculiar. There were 5 holes on it that were connected. It was very mysterious. 5-hole divine stone. It was also one of the most precious strange stones in the 7th district. Its price even exceeded the one in Lin Xian's hand, reaching 6,000 caddies of divine crystals. However, unlike Lin Xian, Tuoba Yulong paid on the spot. As an elder of the Tuoba family, he could afford to take out 6,000 kilograms of substandard divine crystals. With a wave of his hand, he directly handed over enough demigods. Immediately, everyone became excited. Because they knew that the real bet was coming. At this moment, Du Fei stood up excitedly. His whole body was agitated, and his eyes were shining brightly. Since the two of you have chosen your stones, shouldn't we talk about the stakes? Stone gambling. Naturally, one had to place a bet. Otherwise, it would be meaningless. As for Du Fei as a gambling addict, he was even more excited. In such a grand occasion, the stakes that the two of them brought out would definitely be extraordinary. At this moment, the myriad Thunder Saint said with a chuckle, I saw Brother Lin's somewhat distressed appearance just now. Let Brother Lin make this bet. Lest we bet too high and Brother Lin can't afford it. How embarrassing would that be? Although he was laughing, his voice was filled with endless mockery. The martialists on the myriad Thunder Saints side all laughed as they stared unkindly at Lin Xian. In their opinion, the other party simply wouldn't be able to take out anything good. Fuck. This is too much. The dark red dragon god and Fatty Luo were furious, while Lin Xian's lips curled up as his heart burned a little. Since the other party had allowed him to raise the stakes, this was really good news. However, since the other party had gone too far, there was no need for him to hold back. This time he had to make the other party bleed a lot. Otherwise, it would really be a waste of this big investment. Therefore, a moment later, he said with a beaming smile, since you are an elder of the Tuoba family, you must have a lot of treasures in your hands. Plus, if my stakes are too poor, I'm afraid that I won't be giving the elder any face. Therefore, how about this? I will use this weapon as a stake. What do you think? With that, Lin Xian flipped his palm and a small black cauldron appeared in his palm, floating continuously. Using a weapon as a stake? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned, while Tuoba Yi, the myriad Thunder Saint, and the others showed disdain. With the other party's status, he probably wouldn't be able to take out any good weapons. However, in the next moment, when they saw the small black cauldron in Lin Xian's hand, they were all stunned. Among them, Tuoba Yi, the myriad Thunder Saint, the unfettered one, and the others narrowed their eyes while the surrounding martialists exclaimed. Earth-grade treasure. Those who could come to District 7 weren't weaklings. Naturally, there were experts among them who recognized this weapon. Earth-grade treasure. Lin Xian took it out. It was actually an Earth-grade treasure. Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Earth-grade treasures weren't common in the eastern wilderness. Normally, only the core disciples and elders of those large sects would have them. Moreover, most of them were Earth-grade low-grade treasures. Lin Xian's Thousand Beast Cauldron was an Earth-grade mid-grade treasure. It could be said that it was very precious. Perhaps only the saints would have such treasures. Even if they did, they wouldn't be willing to take it out as a stake. That was why everyone was so shocked when Lin Xian took out the Thousand Beast Cauldron. Even the myriad Thunder Saint and unfettered saints' eyelids twitched, and their faces turned ugly. As saints, they naturally had such treasures. However, that was their treasure. How could they be willing to take it out? But now the other party actually took out an earth-grade mid-grade treasure. This was indeed beyond their expectations. Damn it. How could this kid have such a treasure? Tuoba Yi gritted his teeth, his expression ferocious. Tuoba Yulong's eyes also glowed, and his lips curled into a sinister smile. Then he said nonchalantly, "No matter. The better the treasure he takes out, the happier we should be. Because that thing will be ours sooner or later." Tuoba Yulong looked at the myriad Thunder Saint and Unfettered Saint. "What? You two don't believe in my strength? We don't dare." "How can that be?" The myriad Thunder Saint and Unfettered Saint hurriedly explained. Then the myriad Thunder Saint's eyes glowed. He took a step forward, looked at Lin Xian and sneered. "Kid, I didn't expect you to be so reckless. How dare you bet such a treasure with me? Fine, I'll make you accept your defeat today. Although an earth-grade mid-grade weapon is precious, I can take it out." With that, the myriad Thunder Saint flipped his palm, and a treasure flickering with lightning appeared in the void. It was a blue hammer that was 1 foot long. It was covered with Dao runes and lightning flickered around it. It looked like a divine item. "What? It's the myriad Thunder Hammer." Everyone exclaimed when they saw it. Even the living fossils looked solemn. The myriad Thunder Hammer was a very famous treasure of the myriad Thunder sect. They didn't expect the myriad Thunder Saint to use it as a stake. Chapter 1628. The myriad Lightning Hammer was a very famous treasure of the myriad Lightning sect. Who would have thought that the myriad Lightning Saint would use it as a wager? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. This was definitely a huge wager. Perhaps only people at the level of the saint would be able to take out such a bet. A living fossil in the crowd nodded slightly. That's right. The myriad Lightning Hammer is also a mid-grade earth-tier treasure. The two are of similar grades. It's worth a wager. Everyone was stirred and stared at the field. They wanted to know who would emerge victorious in this bet. "Since you're here to give us a treasure, I'll accept it without hesitation." Tuoba Yulong sneered and stepped forward. He clenched his fist and a dagger appeared in his hand. It was a red dagger covered in inscriptions. It was very strange and looked more like a flood dragon. Holding the flood dragon dagger, Tuoba Yulong's aura became sharp. The purple light in his eyes flourished and connected together. It was like a ball of purple auspicious clouds that enveloped the strange stone he had chosen. Then he began cutting the stone with the flood dragon dagger. Tuoba Yulong's stone-cutting technique was very strange and much stronger than Tuoba Ye's. Before long, the 5-orifice divine stone gradually shrank. The surrounding air also gradually condensed. No one even dared to breathe loudly. "Brother Lin, do you think that old guy can cut out any treasure?" Fatty Luo asked worriedly. "There's definitely a treasure. As an elder of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Yulong must have extraordinary vision. There's definitely a treasure inside. As for what it is, I don't know," Lin Xian said in a deep voice. He also activated his martial Dao Heavenly Eye and carefully stared ahead. In front, Tuoba Yulong's movements became slower and slower, but the purple light in his eyes intensified. It was obvious that he had reached the most crucial part. At this moment, even the myriad Lightning Saint was nervous. The wager was his weapon. If he lost, he wouldn't have the face to return to the sect. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. His eyes bloomed with resplendent light that shrouded the stone under his feet. It seemed that he was also preparing to cut the stone. Seeing Lin Xian's actions, the crowd cried out in surprise. At the same time, most of their gazes looked over. This was because the spirit turtle divine rock in Lin Xian's possession was also an extremely important wondrous rock. They also wanted to know just what kind of treasure it contained. Even the living fossils of the older generation were very excited. Lin Xian's movements were very fast. He first removed all the rocks around the edges and gradually approached the center. He even cut off a third of the stone with a single slash, which immediately drew cries of surprise. Because this method was really too bold. This was a stone bought with 2,500 caddies of subdivinity crystals. Everyone had to be careful when cutting, unlike Lin Xian. It was too casual. However, all of this was within Lin Xian's control. Under the martial Dao Heavenly Eye, nothing could escape his probing. Lin Xian precisely controlled the stone in his hand. Gradually, the stones in his and Tuoba Yulong's hands became smaller and smaller until they were only the size of a soccer ball. However, there was still no light. Could it be that these are two useless stones? Someone saw this and muttered softly. "No way, you're saying that both of them made a mistake? Heavens, if that's really the case, then this is going to be fun." Two extremely powerful Seeker Spirit Masters had spent a fortune to buy these wondrous stones, but they were actually two useless stones. If this news spread, it would definitely shock the entire eastern wilderness. However, an expert in the crowd snorted. What do you know? Real treasures won't be too big. Especially this kind of extremely precious wondrous stone. There have even been treasures the size of a fingernail in it before. But that's enough to shock the entire eastern wilderness. A powerful expert explained. The crowd calmed down again and watched carefully. Lin Xian ignored the discussion around him. His eyes were extremely bright as he carefully stared at the stone in his hand. His cutting speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. When he was slow, he even stopped. When he was fast, it was dazzling. This was a plan before making a decision. Only after Lin Xian used his martial Dao Heavenly Eye to see the true situation inside would he act. However, at this moment, everyone exclaimed. Because the stone next to Tuoba Yulong in front of them was shining brightly. The rays of light were as bright as divine red and extremely dazzling. Accompanying them was a terrifying wave of heat. The moment it appeared, the temperature of the entire 7th district continued to rise as if a sun had descended here. The air was distorted from the heat. Everyone was instantly drenched in sweat as if they had been drenched in rain. Even the weaker martial artists were covered in red thorns. They were about to be ignited. Countless martial artists hurriedly circulated their spiritual power to resist, then looked forward in shock. As for the older generation and living fossils, their eyes were shining brightly. They were extremely excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. And all of this was because of the aura released by the stone in Tuoba Yulong's hand. Needless to say, that stone must contain extremely precious treasures. At this moment, Tuoba Yi, the myriad Thunder Saint's son, the unfettered Saint's son, and the others were also overjoyed. They stared unblinkingly. Tuoba Yulong's expression was extremely solemn. Fine beads of sweat even seeped out of his forehead. He had no choice. This was the most crucial moment. Now that the treasure had appeared, he had to be more careful. Otherwise, it would be a great sin if he destroyed even a trace of it. Holding the Flood Dragon dagger, he peeled off the stone bit by bit. Then he quickly sealed it with his palm. Strange runes flickered and appeared in the air, sealing the treasure inside the stone to prevent it from losing energy. Even so, the resplendent red light and the fiery energy still made everyone extremely shocked. At this moment, everyone looked up and carefully looked forward. They wanted to see what kind of treasure it was to have such shocking energy. As for Tuoba Yulong, he put away the Flood Dragon dagger and carefully held the treasure in his hand. A smug smile bloomed on his withered orange face. It was a large crystal with a curved surface. It was red all over like a fireball. It was a divine crystal and a mutated one with special attributes. It was definitely a shocking treasure. Everyone was extremely shocked. Many experts were so excited that they trembled. To be honest, the peerless experts and powerful spirit tamers present had all seen ordinary divine crystals. Some had even cut them out. However, they had never seen a mutated divine crystal with special attributes like this one. In the past, they only knew about it from ancient records. This was the first time they had seen it with their own eyes. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.